Hello there. Come here, my little friend. Don't be afraid.
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for week of May 22nd, 2022. This is episode 177, Disney Marvels, the show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, 20th Century, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. First off, happy Star Wars Day. Hey, you're going, Matthew, we already had Star Wars Day. May the 4th was at the beginning of the month. Yes, but when this episode comes out on the 25th of May, it will be the anniversary, the 45th anniversary of A New Hope. Or back then, it was just known as Star Wars. So happy anniversary to Star Wars, and we have a very special episode in store for this occasion. Something I've been working on for a few years, and finally timing just happened to work out right. And also celebration coming at the end of this week. A lot of Star Wars stuff happening. On a different note, so congratulations to Star Wars. I put the survey out this weekend asking, did you watch Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie on Disney Plus? If so, what did you think of it? And the options that I gave you were amazing, great, loved it, just okay, could have been better, and did not like it. Those are the options I gave you. Well, Facebook, you can also add in your own responses, which many of you did, which included really good, surprised me, and haven't watched it yet, but plan to. Every single answer this time around got a response. The ones that I put in and the ones that you put in. So here's the rundown of responses, and from order of least to greatest. So we're going to start off with, I didn't like it. I got 6%. Could have been better. Also got 6%. Haven't watched it yet, but plan to, was at 12% at the time of this recording. Really good, surprised me, got 18%. Just okay. Just okay as well got 18% of the votes. And the winner with 36% of the votes coming in was amazing, great, loved it. So, majority of you, by a narrow, well, relatively a narrow margin, 36 isn't a huge number, but the majority still speaks. And the majority of you says, amazing, loved it, great. If you haven't checked it out, check it out and let us know. Join in the conversation on the Facebook. We want to hear, or on the Twitter. Tag us and let us know, what did you think of the Chip and Dale's Rescue Ranger movie? It is a movie that, whatever you thought about it, you do have to watch it a few times because of the amount of cameos that are in the movie. I will tell you that. There are so many, it's chock full of appearances by so many different characters. The legal team, from my understanding, worked highly in overtime to be able to get the licensing agreements to have all these different characters, primarily from the 80s, strangely enough, show up in this movie. And on that bombshell, we'll be back after these words from our friends and sponsors.
Hello there, Disney Marvels podcast friends. This is Anthony King, host of the new podcast, Force Ghost Conversations. Each week, this show will be your home for cozy, deep dive discussions into all things Star Wars. We will break down the latest news, announcements, movies, TV shows, comics, books, and everything else in a galaxy far, far away. We can be found on every major podcast listening site, and you can also join the conversation with us via Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search Force Ghost Conversations. We look forward to having you join us around the campfire then for some Force Ghost conversations, and may the Force be with you.
And now, on with the show. that this May is such a big Star Wars month. Not only is it May the 4th, that happened earlier this month, and we have the 45th anniversary of what would become Star Wars, then became Star Wars Episode 4 New Hope. But we also have Star Wars Celebration going on. So it is a month of celebrating Star Wars. And why not? Star Wars should be celebrated at all times. Something I haven't done on this show yet, but has been brought to my attention that maybe we should do on this show, would be rank the Star Wars movies. And I limited it down to the Skywalker Saga. So I don't have any of my usual people on today. I have two newbies, two new to podcasting personalities, people, definitely personalities on the show. And like Jar Jar Binks, this man may be to blame for this idea. I have the first time ever on here, Peter Calcao. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Looking forward to this, man.
And sitting on his grand throne, and he may be a clone of the Emperor named Snoke, or he may not be, Dave Gallman, welcome also to the show.
Thank you, Matt. I know you've been wanting to do this for a while, and sorry we pushed it off, but let's do this.
Pete only came up with this idea, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
About that. Good idea.
And finally, by the power of the Force, we have wrangled you to both here at the same time to discuss politely and rank our Skywalker Saga movies. So 9 movies ranked from least to best. Usually that's the best way to go about it. So Dave, being that you're on the top of my screen and I said that you are the clone of the Emperor, you could go first because Gungans are below the Emperor, according to the Emperor.
Why are you making me start this off? Because you know where I'm going with the first one, man. For me, the 9th one has to be The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Yes.
You know what? And I'm doing this wrong. We'll leave it there. We like The Last Jedi. But where is your Star Wars fandom? Let's get the people to know you a little better. Where's your Star Wars fandom? How did you get into Star Wars, and where would you consider yourself amongst the Force?
Well, I was born in 1973, so the first one that I remember is Return of the Jedi. I remember seeing that in the theaters, and I was hooked on that. I don't even know if I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back, New Hope, because I was too young for that. It was later on as I got older, I started watching the other ones, VHS, whatever came out, and then I was hooked from there. Didn't like the long gap that we had in there between, from Return of the Jedi to the Phantom Menace. But I knew what George was doing at the time. I was patient, as we all had to be. But that's where it was. It was just that little kid there watching the Rancor go after Luke. It was just that just lit that fire in me for this series.
Excellent. And Peter?
I'm not too far off from what happened with you too, Dave. I was born in 1976, so I didn't. The first couple movies are before my time of comprehension, really. So, Return of the Jedi in '83 is what spawned me to become a fan. And my cousin, his older brother, my other cousin, he was older than us. He was driving, and we would pretend we were in an X-wing in his old car. So it was just one of those young memories, and I just loved, taking part with my brother and my cousins in this, driving around thinking like we're in an actual X-wing fighter. It was awesome stuff. So I will say that gap that you mentioned, Dave, was very disappointing for me too, because I did the math as a kid, 77, 80, 83. I'm like, all right, 86, here we go again. And nothing happened until 99. So
There was always rumors
Yeah.
that something was coming, and it just kept getting pushed.
Well, George himself said, every 2 years I'm going to give you a new movie,
Yeah,
and then he stopped.
yeah.
And
Good.
I was going to say, I had read in there was a book written in the Jedi Masters. It was a quiz book that my brother got his hands on. And it had made mention that George Lucas did want to make prequel movies and sequel movies, even that far back. Just, I think he had stated that the technology was not where he wanted it to be.
Yeah, exactly.
To allow those movies to be made.
Yeah.
So I had hope, but it you get older, you grow up, and you move on to other things. But I was happy as anything in 1999.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, he did want to do it, and he kept on claiming the technology for what he wanted to do wasn't where it needed to be.
Right.
Now, what does that mean? We don't fully know, but we just go with it. And now in 2022, we have the full story of all of that, per se.
Yeah, because back then I was always like, okay, why does A New Hope say episode 4? What happened in episode 1? Where's 1, 2, and 3? What was that all about? And then that's when I had heard kind of similar to what he was saying, that he wanted to do a 9-movie Skywalker, movie series basically, and he was waiting for the technology to catch up to what he wanted, that he approved of, to put out there. So it took too long.
That is correct.
For once, technology failed us again, and it took too long to be able to produce anything.
Yeah. It's a different time back then, too. There's no streaming devices. There's no nothing. So you had to wait for those movies to come out, and it was just dead space. What would you have? Star Trek to kind of, if you wanted to go to that genre to get your fix, Yeah,
and that was more, at that point, a lot more practical effects.
Yeah.
Than digital, and he really wanted to do, I think, more into the digital.
Yes.
I don't know if he saw Tron and like what they did there, or just who knows. But again, we got them, and we're going to put them in their place, or where we think they belong in their place. So, Dave, you're ready to declare your love for Last Jedi by putting it in 9th place.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Pete witnessed that one firsthand. We went and saw this one. I was riding off the high of The Force Awakens, because it was actually, it brought Star Wars back, because I wasn't a big fan of the prequels until 8 and 9 came out. And it just, I don't know. I don't know where Rian Johnson was going with this, but it was just, all over the place. Between BB-8 riding an AT-ST and what the heck? Princess Leia doing her Mary Poppins through space. The magic bombs that could fall down in space, no gravity, how they falling down.
Well, that's par for the course with Star Wars. Gravity is always questionable. Even in Return of the Jedi, Vader's ship loses engine power, and what does it do? It crashes down.
Yeah, true.
So that's par for the course. That's nothing limited to that movie.
Yeah, the only thing I can say, like a good thing, I joke, but 3PO getting his regular arm back. They didn't explain how he got a red arm, but in The Last Jedi, he got his golden arm back. So you go, dude.
Yeah, 3PO is no stranger to getting blown apart and built back together in this saga.
Yeah. No, not at all. He's kind of the consummate tortured character. We could blow him up and put him back together again, drag his head across a battlefield and reconnect it to some other droid, and it's compatible.
Yeah, and the other one last thing for me on that was with Snoke. He was kind of cool. They introduced him to the show, to the series, and the way they killed him off, I'm like, what? We still have another movie, and your main bad guy, Supreme Leader, is gone. And the way they took him out was just, he could sense everything, but he couldn't sense that Kylo Ren was turning a lightsaber on him. I'm like, what? So.
Well, if you listen to him, he is narrating the situation, but his perspective on it is off.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything he says is what's happening there.
Right.
At that time. And it's worded in such a way that it's a matter of perspective. Kylo Ren's perspective.
He was predicting his own death instead of Rey's death.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And also you go back to Jedi whenever the Emperor said, you strike me down and that will complete your journey. So that's again what's happening there, because Kylo Ren strikes him down and he completes his quote unquote journey to take over the Empire.
Okay.
So that's the fall before the redemption.
Good perspective there.
Peter?
All right, so do we want to go with my number 9 here?
You're number 9. You're bottom of the list. You're lowest of the low.
All right.
And we'll climb the mountain to the glory land.
For me, what I'm going to preface by this list is to say that my ranking here isn't about the importance of the movies, because there's certain movies that are much more important in this series than others.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie has a huge importance to the Skywalker Saga, but it's not a good movie, in my opinion, which is Attack of the Clones. So for me, that was a movie, tremendous relevance. You have the clones being discovered, built, and then deployed in action in that movie, which is a giant piece of the Skywalker Saga if you look at the universe as a whole. But the movie itself lacked a lot of depth in it. To me, it wasn't a movie that I have no desire really to watch it another time if I didn't have to. There's nothing drawing me to that movie.
Yeah, it was kind of nothing.
I will say, there's things there that happen, like Anakin, kind of basically going to the dark side in that movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when he's starting to switch. So there's huge relevance there, but it didn't come across well in the movie. And his, when he wanted to master death and bring out, go to the dark side, basically, to be able to start doing the things that he tried to save Padme, and he was having those bad dreams about her dying during childbirth. So it kind of pushed him to a bad spot. And I don't think it was portrayed enough, in my opinion. It could have been done better, but it has tremendous relevance, in the Skywalker Saga, because that's the birth of Darth Vader, basically. So, to me, it just wasn't done well. And then the same, one thing I did enjoy, which is the last 2 minutes of the movie, which is when you see all the clones lined up, almost like the stormtroopers, pre-stormtrooper, basically. Mm-hmm. All the clones lined up with Yoda saying, the Clone Wars have begun, and you see that just amazing amount of, military support that's now there, that they're going to go to war with. That was a beautiful scene at the last few minutes of the movie. But overall, it didn't hit well with me, and I rank it number 9.
And the acting, if I remember correctly, the acting wasn't all that great in there either.
Well, Hayden Christensen, if I say his last name right, but he received a lot of negative press for his portrayal.
Yes.
Could he have done it better? Maybe. Could you do it better than him? No. So can I do it better than him? Probably not. No. So I'm not going to knock him, but I think he could have been portrayed that that kind of change from good to bad for Anakin to almost Darth Vader there, I think could have come across better. I mean, you could have had people in tears if you had the right people doing that, probably.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Knowing what because remember, the first 3 come out and then the prequels come out, so you already knew the story there. So you could have had, if that was emotionally properly done in the movie, I think you could have had people like like sobbing at that point about what was happening. Like,
Yeah.
but it didn't come across. And like I said, it has tremendous relevance, but it's not a good movie.
Okay. Yeah, it's there is a lot of key points, and I get where you're going. That it just, for whatever reason, the emotional tones where they are supposed to hit don't hit as strongly as some other films in that type, and just in the sci-fi genre in general.
Sure.
But there is a lot of relevance, and I'm remembering the scene that you're talking about where Yoda is standing at the Jedi Temple, and you see all the clones and the trooper ships and everything lining up and preparing to be sent off and deployed. And it's the way that Yoda also says the line. It's now comes to Clone Wars, but you can tell he's not. It's not a good thing. He knows that is going down the wrong path, but is the path that has to happen. We obviously find out the Emperor's pulling the strings for both sides of the battle for the entire thing. It's all part of the grand plan of the Emperor, but it's it's the way that Yoda pulls that line off. So yeah, I get that. I get it.
Mm-hmm. And another part, just a quick thing, that part when he does that confession to Padme about how he killed the Sand People, the women, the children, all of them. So much raw emotion there. I just feel that should have been one of the greatest scenes ever in that saga, and it wasn't.
It has a lot of potential. It's a very heavy hitting part. I like that, what he was portraying there, because you got the anger, you got the rage, and it is the big leap. Everything in this movie starts the path and starts him further and pushes him further and further down the path of the Sith and the dark side, and it snowballs. It starts with him starting to show affection. Jedis are not supposed to get married, and he goes ahead and does it anyway. Everything he's not supposed to do, he ends up doing, and it just, not that getting married is going to push you down the dark side, depending who you get married to, but in this case, it's like, okay, you're not supposed to do this. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. You're not supposed to do that. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. You're not supposed to do this. Well, I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it's the snowballing effect. But okay, no, all right. So we have Attack of the Clones and The Last Jedi. So I will now declare mine. Now, I should have also prefaced that just like whenever I talk about the Marvel movies, the Star Wars movies, any other studio would love to have just one of these films in their library, and be able to release a film of this caliber on their roster and their lineup, and put out into theaters and expect it to do half of what the Star Wars movies do in the box office. So, not saying that any of these are complete garbage, that they're completely horrible. This is just the order that we personally feel that they fall in, and this could change in a week, a day. It's how I have them now. Some of them I could switch, like 8 and 9 I probably could switch. Even 3 and 4 I might be able to switch on my list. But that being said, right now, number 9 for me, and this has kind of always been on my least favorite, like you were saying, Peter, not one that I'm running to watch again, even though, again, it does have significance. It has a lot of important stuff happening in it. It's just one that I go, I've seen it. And for me, that is Revenge of the Sith.
Wow.
Episode 3.
Really, Matt?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, Matt. Okay.
All
Let's hear it.
It is, like I said, it has such substantial importance that this is really Vader appears at the end of this movie. Spoiler if anyone hasn't seen Revenge of the Sith yet. And shame on you if you haven't seen Revenge of the Sith yet, and you're listening to this podcast and you haven't gone around to seeing it yet. No, Revenge of the Sith. Um, Spoiler alert: Vader shows up at the end of it. Finally, you get the suit, you get the breathing, and that part is done really well. And you get the Luke and Leia's entrance into Star Wars. You have the inevitable battle between Kenobi and Anakin, and as much as I've been watching Star Wars my entire life, first movie I ever saw in the theater was New Hope, and I would constantly watch it on VHS. Dave, I know you're trying to figure that out. I'll explain to you one of these days.
Was that a re-release? What?
You got the remastered version.
Yes. But and then I'd watch it always on VHS, and my mother would get annoyed at me and running around like Han Solo in my house, screaming after like he's being chased by the stormtroopers. But so we've anticipated this battle and anticipated the lightsaber duel of the century between Kenobi and Vader. And to me, it was just a bunch of them flinging their lightsabers around in circles in front of each other, beating up on poor innocent computers.
I can see that.
So, but unfortunately, again, as much as I love Star Wars, for me, most of the time, Star Wars, the lightsaber battles have been on the live action end, some of the not necessary highlights. I've seen better sword fighting in a lot of other films.
Of the Star Wars genre you're talking about?
No, just in general. Like,
oh, okay. All right.
Pirates of the Caribbean 2, the sword fighting in that is spectacular. Revenge of the Sith, the lightsaber battling in that isn't.
Okay, well, what about Yoda and the Emperor?
Pretty cool, but again, that's just Yoda's bouncing around.
Yeah, true. He's
just jumping from platform to platform to platform while the Emperor's throwing it. Right. There's very little of that.
He goes from hobbling with the crutch to just flipping all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
It was cooler I think in Clone Wars when he's facing Dooku. There was a lot more challenge and finesse in that battle between Yoda and Dooku. But some of the lightsaber battle, and I could get this with Clone Wars, is whenever you see Dooku there, and you see a close up of Christopher Plummer's face, and the strobe effect from the blade, and then you have a close up of Ewan McGregor's face with the strobe effect of the blade. You don't actually even see the lightsabers. So, sorry, that's part of my rant on Star Wars lightsaber battles. But Revenge of the Sith, again, there's a lot of important stuff that happens in it, but it's not one that really compels me to watch it again, because I think the final act for me falls flat.
Did you like the way Padme just gave up on life and passed?
Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I realize it's Monday. I feel the same way too, but I keep going.
I mean, that was kind of a lame way to kill her off, but whatever.
Yeah, she dies of a broken heart.
Yes.
I get it, but could we have done something a little more compelling? Like, okay, I understand. Anakin pushed her and knocks her down, but it's not like he force pushed her across the room and she hits her back onto the spaceship or something. Right. He just kind of shoves her out of the way and she drops to the ground.
You never know. You never know what quite those force chokes might do to that throat. That's what, it was like a delayed reaction or something.
So yeah, it's the final act that for me kills it. Leading up to it actually gets pretty good. Where we have the attack on the temple and some of the battle sequences, the Order 66, that gets going and that gets good, and I like that. And then it just drops. I mean, this is what we've culminated for 6 movies at that point, and the fans have been anticipating since '76. For that battle, ever since Vader goes, "We meet again, and this time the tables are turned. I'm the master now." And the teacher now, and that whole aspect. So we've been waiting for that lightsaber battle, and we get them jumping from beating up on computers, jumping over from rock to rock to rock to rock to rock, and Obi-Wan in one foul swoop cuts off 3 limbs.
Yeah.
Right.
He had the higher ground, man. He had the advantage.
He had the higher ground, but it's like
he told
He
them
told him not to do it.
I felt like, oh wait, the movie needs to be ending now. We need to be wrapping this up. All right.
Rushed. Yeah.
It
Kids
just
don't
all of a
listen to
sudden
their parents, bad things happen, right? So yeah, he warned them.
Yeah.
you were supposed to bring balance. You were the chosen one. You were my brother. Yeah, that's
That's a cold move, though, man. The dude's on fire from the lava, and he just walks away from him.
Yep.
You know, he loved him so much, but he turned his back on him. See ya.
Burn, baby, burn. Yeah, no. So that's my number 9. So Dave, it goes back to you. You're 8. Your second least.
My second least, for me,
Yes.
is a continuation on the sequel trilogy, because The Rise of Skywalker is my number 8. Because this one, for me, just felt like J.J. Abrams having to fix all the problems that Rian Johnson created. And it just felt rushed and patchworked. They had to come up with a reason of who Snoke was. Oh, he was just my clone. And then they brought back, it seemed like he needed to come up with something safe. So let's bring back the Emperor. Everybody loves the Emperor. Let's bring him back somehow. Yeah, okay, he was cool, but he was dead. You could have let him go and stayed with, I'm back on the Snoke thing. They could have let Snoke be like the final guy. You know what I'm saying? Because the Emperor been there, done that. Okay, so it felt too soap opera, but keep bringing people back after they're dead. So, but yeah.
I think it was a cash grab.
What's that?
Are you saying it was a cash grab? Is that what you're saying, to get the Emperor back in there to sell?
To get people back in the seats, because once that rumor comes out, come on, you didn't get excited when you heard, hey, the Emperor's going to be back.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
exactly
I did.
what it
I'm
was.
like,
Oh, when they announced it, everyone went crazy. They dropped a collective mind whenever they saw him come. They was back in that reading the lines from announcing the movie. So
right,
yeah,
you heard his laugh in one of the trailers, right?
Yes.
And that's when everyone was like, "Oh, the Emperor's laugh."
and the other thing that bugged me about it was like the abilities of these people to just all of a sudden grab a lightsaber, know how to use it. Rey can get force healing. The Palpatine hinted about force healing to Anakin, that they can say Padme before, when she's going to supposedly die in his dreams and all that. Nothing ever happens with that until Rey sees Kylo Ren get stabbed. Oh, I can heal you. How? Where did that come from? Because that could have been a trick that could have been used. Qui-Gon Jinn gets stabbed. Obi-Wan, hey, heal him. Bring him back. Let's go. I had a problem with them just popping these things out that are not commonplace.
I wonder if because she's a descendant of Palpatine, she has that extra bad stuff in there too that she can do.
Yeah, but Kylo Ren did it too. Kylo Ren did it too, and he's not a descendant from Palpatine.
No, but he's a descendant from Vader, who also, in non-canonical books now,
Or should I
but
say
in other mediums, this was a ability that had been mentioned before. So it wasn't something that started in The Rise of Skywalker. This is something that's been going on for years in Star Wars. So they did hint at it earlier in the movie. So they did pull the check up. Huh?
Of the force healing? I must have missed that one.
Yeah, there was I don't remember the exact scene, but I vividly remember there was a point that she had to use it. Yes, there was. It was in the cave scene. So she used it in the cave scene on the giant worm creature. That was
Yes, she did. Yeah, she healed him. Yes, she did. That it was hurt. They thought it was aggressive, but it was just hurt, and she healed
right.
him.
True. Okay.
So that was something that she had learned and she'd been learning to use. If it was
I'm going to stick with
before that, I don't
Palpatine
remember off the
blood
top of my
running
head.
through there.
He's sticking
I'm
with
going to stick
Palpatine.
with that Palpatine blood running through there that she can do something.
There you go. It's that Sith blood. So
For me, it was, and the total, the handling of the Luke Skywalker character itself too, because this is probably, I should have said this for The Last Jedi too. For me, it was, we went from him being this dominating kick butt Jedi from the Return of the Jedi to this, whatever you want to call him, milking aliens on the planet for nourishment and just like cutting himself off from everything. The character, that's not what I wanted to see coming into this. So the main character for me that this was focused on, they turn him into the total opposite of what he was. And I know you guys are gonna be like, oh, well, that's what that's his character journey and that's what Obi-Wan did or whatever. Well, I don't care. I wanted to see him kick butt, and then he dies. Spoiler alert, he dies from doing a force projection? Come on, dude. Come on.
Well, 900 years you are. Let's see how good you're doing.
That's where I stand with that one, man.
Well, I've told you my excuse on that one. Luke becomes a grumpy old man. He was a whiny young boy, and he becomes a grumpy old man.
Yeah. I still wanted to see him kick butt.
True. He was doing the wicked, Matrix moves in Last Jedi.
Yeah. As a hologram.
Yeah.
Force projection, sorry.
All right.
I don't want to beat a dead horse on mine.
Go ahead, Peter.
But my number 8 is The Last Jedi. So it has a lot of negative to it. A lot of negative. It definitely went off the rails from the previous movie. And everyone knows that. And as Dave mentioned, they tried to push it back onto the rails to finish off the saga. But in between there was definitely a lot of garbage that came through there. Now, there was some good stuff in there, and I do want to just spend a minute on some of the positives that I thought, which is I loved, even though why wouldn't they have done it many a times before, Admiral Holdo's light speed kill, when she gave herself up and took out that whole fleet by doing the light speed maneuver. That was awesome. It brings up the question, why didn't they do that all the time? Well, people don't want to die.
Yeah.
So she gave up herself. That it was artistically done very well. Complete silence. You saw her smash through every one of the fleet of the Empire, or I guess they were called the First Order at that point. Went through all. I thought that was a beautiful scene in that movie. All right, so that's one positive I'll give it. I like, even though Luke Skywalker was portrayed terribly in that movie, I gotta say I enjoyed, and I think this was the second time I had watched it when I noticed it, because I had to deal with Dave's anger in the theaters. So when I got it a second time, when I watched it the second time, I'm pretty sure I texted you both that I liked it more than the first time.
Yes, you did.
And the reason is Luke Skywalker's stand at the end. I love that because he went out. Kylo Ren blows everything he's got at him with all those AT-ATs. Not the AT-ATs, they were the new kind of AT-ATs. They looked like they were like walking on their legs backwards. I don't know. They looked weird, but they were cool. And they blew him to bits, and it's a force projection. He's there. Kylo Ren goes down and fights him, and then realizes what it is. I thought that was awesome. When he realizes that Luke duped him. Like, I thought that was fantastic. Now, when they cut back to Luke, away on his island and he dies, that's terrible. But when Kylo Ren was just losing his mind trying to kill Luke Skywalker, first from the AT-AT and then in person, I love that. That was great. And then and I thought Luke deserved that kind of to be that awesome for a few minutes there. And if you remember, Luke shrugs his shoulder like he wipes it off like, yeah, that was nothing. That was nothing, guys. What else you got for me? I thought that I liked that. That was a positive for me there. And then when they did retreat to that salt planet, I thought that was beautiful. The red. They would kick up all the red when they were flying and all that. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm big on the scenery in these movies. I've always been big on the scenery, and the Star Wars franchise has done beautiful scenery.
I'll give the sequel trilogies. I'll give it to you with the blacks and the reds. They pop.
The visuals.
Yeah, the visuals. Everything is it's spot on. That I give the sequel trilogy.
Yep. But I don't want to spend too much time on The Last Jedi because it's number 8 and it deserves to be number 8.
And we're going to spend a little more time on it because it's my number 8 as well.
There you go.
And kind of for the same reasons, I one of the things that I understood that they unfortunately, this is where they really dropped the ball with the sequel trilogy, is instead of having one brain trust write the 3 movies, JJ wrote the first one, Ryan did the second one, JJ had to do the third one, and so that you kind of didn't have the consistency through those that you did whenever George did, the original movies, and then even he was involved in the 3 prequels, and it was kind of the same people to write out the 3 prequels, different directors, same writers, so you had much more consistency and better flow that way. That's what really I think they dropped the ball on the prequels. That being said, the battle on the Salt Planet I think was brilliant. It was beautiful. I loved the way it looked. I loved what they did with the character of Rose in this. And you guys know Paige, and the fact that they had a character by the name of Paige in this movie who's also a Vietnamese woman, would just, to me, with the it's like, oh wait, well I have to give it some props because of my daughter's in the movie. So yeah, we got the Funko Pop figure, the action figures, anything that's Paige Tano up there. Rose, I like the arc that they gave her. I wish they were able to bring the character more. Shame on anyone that bashes that character for the fact that nothing more than that she's a female character and a strong female character in a Star Wars movie that isn't Princess Leia. I
would more bash Finn's character because he disappeared in this one. I think they lost their direction with him.
Well, and even the actor that plays him agrees with you. You started building the relationship between Ro and Finn, and you could have done so much more with that, and you didn't.
Yeah.
So I think they were starting to lose some of these key characters that they introduced in Force Awakens in this movie. Yes, the flying Princess Leia, people have explained it to me. I understand. I just don't like how that scene plays out.
Yeah.
It doesn't play well. The destruction of the super ship, fantastic. And then, the battle with Finn Poe against, or Finn taking out Phasma. Unfortunately, that was another character I felt that he played short was Phasma.
Yes. Phasma should have been around a lot longer. Yes.
Or just build the character up more. You could have had her die in the third act of the second movie. That's not a problem. But done more with her, make her more of a presence because she's supposed to be the leader of the stormtroopers.
100%.
She's the avant-garde, and
she was a cool character.
It was a very good character. They missed it.
So yeah, that's you had a lot of great opportunities that you dropped the ball on. That being said, as I was just talking before about the lightsaber battles, this one has my favorite lightsaber battle in it. Between Kylo Ren and Rey and the I forget the characters' names, but those red guards of Snooks. And they're battling in the throne room. The throne room starts going on fire. The walls are the draperies are burning down, and the embers are flying everywhere. And the two of them are just battling these characters left and right. And it's not an easy battle. Their armor is able to stop the lightsabers partially. And you get that married with the destruction that's going on around them in outer space. I think that is a fantastic, fantastic scene, and that's the type of lightsaber battle I've always wanted in a Star Wars movie, and had to wait till the 8th movie to get it.
Man,
Mhm.
wow, interesting.
But one thing I also, and some people like the comedy in this one, I felt some of the comedic moments were a bit forced, like Poe's at the beginning, whenever he's trying to. Can I speak to Grand Admiral? I forget the character's name. And this is he. I'm waiting. Like,
Can you hear me now?
okay, yeah, right. I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Are we going to those kind of jokes?
Yeah.
So yeah, the writing in this movie is inconsistent for me. It's got beautiful visuals. I get the point of some of it, but it just it misses the mark in too many places for me. To really put it higher on the list where I'd like to put it, but I can't. And that's why in some ways I can make this one. I can switch over with Revenge of the Sith, but because it's got the lightsaber battle and some cool moments. Luke passing away, yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. I can almost buy it that you have this older Jedi guy who's never fully completed his training, astral projecting his presence across the galaxy from that little island to where the what's left of the resistance, to in battling saving the troops and battling Kylo Ren. So he's using a lot of energy to project himself there. So basically he's taking all of his life essence and putting it into this projection. So whenever it's done, he just he's done, because he's basically sacrificed himself to be able to save the resistance, to take on, or at least delay Kylo Ren and the First Order. So that's where I see that going. That was my take on it. Again, never explained. Maybe it's better in the book, but that's my take on why he moved on to become one with the Force at the end of it.
Let me chime in real quick there. What you
Go
said
ahead.
on the comedic aspects in the movie. They missed, like, Marvel hits them all the time, and you laugh along with a lot of that stuff. When in the very beginning of that movie, he takes the lightsaber and throws it over his shoulder, that fell flat. That wasn't a good joke. Like, that's where I think, Dave, you probably right off the bat, you were done at that point, right? On that movie.
Absolutely.
So, and that's the first 5 minutes of that movie.
Yeah, because I was running off the high of The Force Awakens, because I'm like, all right, we're back, we're doing our thing, and then they come out with this one and they're cracking "Can you hear me now" jokes, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I felt like it was like they're trying to do the Marvel treatment.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it's not that
100%.
we haven't had comedic moments in Star Wars before,
Absolutely.
but the way that it was written better for the genre, for the film and the storyline.
Right. I don't think the comedy has ever been forced in the Star Wars movies. That felt forced to try to make people laugh,
All right, Dave. 7 Up.
7 Up. All right, I'm going to go with the Attack of the Clones, like Peter said, but mine's a little higher. It same thing. It's like I saw it. That's it. There was nothing else that would draw me to watch it again. And I was a little, I mean, I was like, as I'm watching this, you know, and I'm thinking, okay, this is titled Attack of the Clones. I'm like, well, where are the clones? You know, we got the robot guys, you know, the droid army doing their thing and stuff. And I'm like, where are the clones? Oh, they show up way at the end. Oh, now they're attacking. Okay. That's why we named it that. But I was a little bit, what was it? Dooku's lightsaber battle. I like that. I'm not putting it up there as the top battle in Star Wars universe, but I enjoyed that one. But I can see how they, you know, started his progression, Anakin's progression to turning to the dark side and stuff. But his acting, and for me, it felt like there was no chemistry between him and Natalie Portman. You know, I don't know if this was the movie, but they were like, the lines went, "I love you." "No, I love you." I'm like, okay. You know, and the edits, like if you watch it, it looks like the edit, like, you know how George does the little swipes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems like he was off a little bit on those. Like, you know, like there was a couple seconds of like them just staring at each other, and then the sweep came in. So the editing was a little off for me too.
Pause, hold for effect, and scene.
Right, exactly. But yeah, to me it was like a nut and burger. There was stuff in it, like Pete said, but I don't want to keep beating it down. But that one deserves to be lower in the list there.
Okay. Peter?
My number 7 will be Rise of Skywalker, because again, not a terrible movie, but it had great points and it was good. It was, again, you know, to me there was nothing that stuck to me, nothing that makes me want to watch it again. So obviously it's a conclusion. There's a lot of things get ended there, and you get your finished storylines. But honestly, for me, if it wasn't for the beauty of the movie, like I thought they had wonderful scenes, like the when they were in the desert, the Pasana Desert, that all that colorful carnival stuff. I love that. It's beautiful. When they were in the moons of Endor with those gigantic waves, that was awing to me in the movie theater. I loved that. And then they had their big lightsaber battle there on those waves, and that the cinematic aspect of it. Like, I think if you would have seen that at home versus seeing it in the theater, I think that movie needs to be seen in the theater to stand a chance, because it has beautiful scenes. If you look at that movie, cinematically, it's beautiful. But, the movie itself, it falls on the lower end for me. The one thing I love, because, and not really in the Skywalker saga of these 9 movies, when Rey gets her final jolt from all the prior Jedis, you got Ahsoka Tano, got her 5 seconds of glory in there.
Yep.
So that is a beautiful little cherry on top there. So, it was great to hear you hear all the different past Jedis, but, Ahsoka got the credit. He's in the end credit there. So
you get a lot of people in that one, yeah.
I think Pete's going to be pre-gaming when the Ahsoka series comes out.
Fantastic character. It's not for today's podcast.
She is an amazing character. I'm glad we're finally getting her live action.
Yes. No,
there's no better arc from beginning to where we don't know the end yet, but
And I felt to keep beating a dead horse, I felt bad for Chewbacca, man, because that dude's gonna need some serious therapy, because he had to witness Luke die, Leia die, Han die, Amr Akbar, everybody's dying, and Chewie's sitting there crying the whole trilogy.
Well, let's say that. Look, that concludes the Skywalker saga, right? So the first movie is Star Wars. There is no human, good or bad, from the first movie to the last movie that lived. Not a single one. Good or bad. So just keep that in mind. Lando Calrissian came in Empire. He doesn't count. So.
Oh, you're talking about from the first to the last. Okay.
From the beginning
Chewbacca
movie,
shows up in the second movie.
Yeah. From the beginning to the end, there is no surviving human being. So, anyway, but not getting back to the Rise of Skywalker, cinematically beautiful. movie wise. If I don't see it again, I'm good. But it's a Star Wars movie, so I will see it again, I'm sure. So, but it will land at number 7.
Okay. So I guess that brings up my number 7, and someone has to say it first. I'm gonna go. I feel a little jaded putting it here, but I'm gonna mention the Phantom Menace.
Ah, he's got prequel.
Yeah. I got in for the prequel. Sorry, anyone who enjoys them. It's not because I don't like it. It just I like a number of aspects of the other ones more. So, and that kind of forced it down a little further. It's to me, it's the least Star Warsy of the Star Wars movies, because you get some Jedis, but they're out on an adventure. So it's not. You don't have the Empire. You don't have any of that stuff. It's the first stepping off point, but it is, like I said, it's kind of the least Star Warsy of this Skywalker saga. No big Empire, no big anything. You have the Trade Federation that they're going against, or right? This is a Trade Federation.
Yes.
Yes.
That they're battling against, and they pull the thing with, if we blow up the satellites, the droids all of a sudden magically stop working.
Which for the record, the droids, over the years I've grown to enjoy them. I thought they were the dumbest thing in the beginning, and then over the years they crack me up.
You can thank the Clone Wars cartoon for that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Even in this one, you had the Roger. Hey, what are you doing there? Right. So the fact that the battle droids are comedical.
Yes.
And that comedy worked. I didn't feel that was forced.
Yeah, no.
I bought that. I enjoyed watching that. Roger. And the running gags that the battle droids bring. I thought I liked it. I liked those. I personally did not mind Jar Jar. I know I'm in the minority there, but I didn't mind him. It brought, I think, one of the best Sith characters that we have seen to date, in Darth Maul, and we get nothing out of him until we get the Clone Wars animated series, and we still don't have enough of his story. I mean, he's just imposing, intimidating, everything that you want out of a Sith Jedi or a Sith Lord, and this is the only movie we get him in, except for 30, not even 30 seconds at the end of the Solo movie, which we're not even counting, putting that in here. So it's you have to start a story somewhere, and this is where they started. Fine. The pod racing, okay. For me, that was just, we want to show off the Dolby sound effects and what we can do with the sound effects and stuff.
A lot of that, didn't you think that, like, they wanted to, how they had the speeder bike chase in Return of the Jedi? I kind of think they wanted to show off, like, what they can do now.
Right. Well, that's what I said. That whole scene was really a show off. Look where we have come.
Right.
So it was well done, but it really didn't sell me on it until the last battle where you had Maul and Qui-Gon and Kenobi battling it out. One of my favorite songs, the Duel of the Fate song from that, the chanting. John Williams hits it out of the park on that. That is a really well done. That's another really well done. That's probably my second favorite lightsaber battle. Going there.
There you go. I was gonna say, if you hate that battle, man, you're crazy.
No. That one, that was well done. That was Ray Parks. Choreographing it though. I mean, that's the only thing he choreographed. So, if you got him choreographing a little more, then that would be better. But it's a starting off point, but it just kind of I wanted, I don't know, something in the Metachlorians. I'm sorry, being able to do a DNA, take a little blood sample like you're doing a glucose test on him to check his blood sugar. Oh, look, your midichlorian count is high today. Maybe you should cut back on the snacks.
Oh, man.
Like you couldn't come up with. I could sense the force being super strong. Use a force connection or something other than oh, my little computer thing. How come we didn't have that technology further on in the movies where you go, oh look, he could be a Jedi now. Oh, we could be a Jedi. Let me prick your finger and find out if you can use the force. So yeah, that was like a cheap cop out in writing for me on that, and there was a couple of those in that movie.
Well, did they explain? I mean, I could be wrong, but in Revenge of the Sith, did they explain Anakin's birth by talking about Darth Plagueis or whatever his name is, that he can manipulate the midichlorians to create life or something like that? So is he the one that actually created Anakin in his mom? He technically didn't have a father. You know what I mean?
There's been speculation on that there is a Sith Lord that was actually Anakin's father. Was it Plagueis? I thought it was the one before him.
Which is Darth. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I forget his name now, but it was Palpatine's master.
Yeah, and Palpatine, didn't he hint that he killed Plagueis or whatever his name was in Revenge of the Sith at the end there?
Yes. Yeah, he killed his master, which is what made him who he is, and that's how the journey goes of the Sith, which seems like a self-defeating journey. We want to create more Sith, but we have to kill each other.
Star Wars is like a religion. You can just go with it's an immaculate conception, right?
Yeah. But yeah, there is talk that there it's not just all of a sudden that she was with child. There was a connection to a Sith Lord.
Right. Okay.
But if it was Palpatine, then it would have been, there's Rey and Kylo Ren are distant cousins.
Star Wars delve deep in this
They
stuff.
hooked up. They hooked up. Hey, Luke and Leia kiss.
In all fairness, that was before they were written in as brother and sister. But yeah, so but yeah, that Phantom Menace, it's not that I really despise it. It's just I like some of the ones that I haven't named yet better than that one.
Okay, it's Darth Tenebrows was the master of Darth Plagueis.
Okay. I'm trying
And
to
then
find
it
him
was
in
the
my
Emperor. So it was Darth Tenebrows, Plagueis, and then Palpatine.
Yes. Sounds about right.
I think Darth Unibrows was in there.
Good night, Gracie.
What up, Bubba?
Why can't I find him in the book here? Anyway, moving right along, Dave, number 6.
Yeah, I'm going to beat a dead horse. I'm going to go with you. Phantom Menace would be my next at 6. To me, it was the Jar Jar factor. That dude just annoyed the living you-know-what out of me. And I couldn't get past him. It wasn't until years later where the character was already established. You watch it again, you're like, okay, he's not so bad. But that initial, we're waiting for Star Wars forever. You go to the theater, you sit there, and they give you this guy. And you're like, what am I watching? But as it goes on, then you get to this great, one of the best lightsaber battles between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. They introduced Darth Maul, which I agree they kind of They should have expanded on him a little more. It's the Snoke syndrome.
It's a shame. It's a shame they cut Darth Maul's character short.
Yeah, because he was just so cool, and that's why I kind of wanted to see more into the Solo universe, because that's where they brought him back. I was kind of hoping to see him again, brought back, whether he's got mechanical legs or not. I wanted to see him again.
Absolutely.
But that it brought it all to me. What rescued it was the end with that lightsaber battle, because to me that was next to Jedi. Because I love the battle at the end of that. That was number 2 for me for battles. So.
Agreed. I've said my piece. So Pete,
Yeah. I don't want to keep it. We talked about it. Like for me, it was just Jar Jar.
He's so sorry.
It was all the accidents. Like they're in a major battle and he's got a droid hit to his foot. He's like, whoopsies, and he's shooting everybody. No, come on, dude.
But hey, to the Gungans' credit, they made him a general.
Yeah.
Again, that's the comedy that missed. You know what I mean? They didn't nail that comedy.
Right.
And just to and again, not to beat the dead horse there, but number 6 for me, The Phantom Menace.
Okay.
So same thing. So, and again, to the points that you guys have made, I will say again, the City of Thebes was beautiful. The battle, again, good cinema to see in a big screen. And then, as you guys both mentioned, Darth Maul. I mean, his side-splitting lightsaber duel was awesome. But I think there's definitely positives, because I was so excited to see that movie. Like when Lucasfilm showed up, I was just in heaven there, because again, from 1983 to 1999, like to see that again, that's a huge positive. That's a great memory, kind of like the first Transformers film. While that franchise has disappointed me, that first film was amazing to sit through in the beginning. Same thing with The Phantom Menace. I was excited to see it. But the movie itself was mid-range, and again, I have it at number 6.
Do you guys think they missed a range with Anakin? Like, should they have started with him as like this little boy that was oopsie blowing up everything, or should he have been a little bit older at that time when they brought him in? When you're trying to introduce the character as a young Anakin.
I wasn't bothered by the kid doing Anakin Skywalker, because he wasn't an important piece in that movie. He was the reason, but he wasn't the main focus. The main focus was Obi-Wan Kenobi, and
and Qui-Gon.
I don't want to say he.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. I don't want to say Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon as well. But I think the main, like in the prequels, Obi-Wan is the main character, right? So.
Right, but aren't they supposed to be trying to establish Anakin, his journey to becoming?
Correct. Anakin becomes it, but I'm saying between those 3 movies, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, those 3 movies, I think Obi-Wan is the character. He is from the very first scenes to the very last scene. So.
I think from a logical standpoint, he should have been a little bit older, because for him to go from an 8-9-year-old boy to a 19-year-old boy between films, and Natalie Portman has only aged slightly. It's a little hard to swallow.
Right, like, because what do you think? How old do you think Natalie Portman was or Padme in there? How old do you think she was? Probably 20, say?
No, she was like 12 or 13. She was. Yeah. She was supposed to be a teenager.
Okay.
I believe. But from an emotional standpoint and from a writing standpoint, I understand why they went with a younger character, because it establishes the innocence and it establishes the emotional connection that you know where this character is going and you see him as a child. But to see someone as a child and to think that they're going to become the most evil character in the galaxy, or one of the most feared characters in the galaxy, it makes it harder to swallow, and it makes the transformation that much more impactful.
Gotcha.
So if you had
Yeah, I
a
agree with that.
teenager there, and you said this teenager is going to go on and cause so much trouble, and you're going, okay, he's a teenager, yeah, he's going to cause trouble, yep, all right,
Right.
you're not going to have the same emotional connection or the same emotional journey with an older character. So, and from the writing aspect, and from the emotional aspect, it makes absolutely perfect sense to put a younger character, a young child, as the introduction of, this is Anakin Skywalker. This is the person that's going to turn into Darth Vader. And look, he's just a young child. Complete innocence at that point.
Hitting on an older woman.
Hey, gets the job done. He's a smooth operator.
Yeah.
Have you seen my pod racer?
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess that would bring up my number 6. You guys have both brought this up already. Now I'll bring it up, is Rise of Skywalker.
Mm.
So I have it slightly higher than you guys. Visually spectacular. Seeing the remains of the Death Star 2, the battle and the emotional journey that happens in that segment is fantastic. Rey's fall, and you seeing her having the Sith vision, like Luke had, and seeing herself in the robes and whatnot on the Death Star in the room, fighting Kylo Ren, and then you have Kylo Ren's start to ascend. He leaves the dark side, and that's where he becomes going back to the light side, bringing back Han Solo, and having that father-son talk there to me, that was spectacular. I loved that moment. But you had the storm calms, the waves are calming down. You have, Han talking to his son, and passing along the forgiveness, and saying, rise, you not give up who you were. You're not this person that you were pretending to be. You are my son. You made a mistake. Own up to your mistake and write it. Spectacular moment. Cinematography is fantastic. The cinematics of it, the storytelling, the symbolism, all you hit all the right notes in those moments. You get some weird moments, and you get some beautiful moments. C-3PO, when they're going to wipe his memory, he says, I am looking, and this is part that dragged people in, even in the trailer, of C-3PO going, I'm taking one last look at my friends.
Yeah.
I mean, how powerful is that line from Anthony Daniels?
Yeah, that was good.
The fact that you have the Sith planet, and that they built all these ships that no one knows about, and there's thousands of people there to man them. That's a bit hard to swallow.
Yeah, they all have planet destroying capabilities underneath.
Yeah, that's attached to the warp drives. Okay.
Yeah.
Light speed drive. Sorry, wrong film. But is that any more different than the Empire's building a star destroying moon and no one knew about it?
Yeah, I know. How'd that get by people?
Yeah. The unfortunate part that we have to recognize that this film suffered from it, and this was a late production after the script was written, reason is the untimely and very, very misfortunate loss of Carrie Fisher.
Mm.
Because this was going to be her story. It was going to be her crowning moment in the saga. She was not meant to die. She was meant to carry this story through the end. There was supposed to be a much grander part for her. And
do you know that for a fact, or?
Yes.
I'm just okay.
Yeah, they came out ahead of time saying that this was.
I'm just torn because it just seemed to me like the sequel trilogy was the the culmination of killing off all of the originals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to kind of progress through them all, but it's yeah, it wasn't. She was not meant to, because she was the princess. She was never meant to, and she was the princess that carried the first movies, and again was supposed to carry through on this one. So that was the very unfortunate part, and that caused a lot of last minute rewrites, reshoots, quick last minutes because you had to face a deadline. We couldn't step back and rewrite this and redo it. Kind of like, I mean, think of what they're doing with Black Panther 2 right now. They were able to take time and redo it because they knew ahead of time of the passing of I can't remember his name right now. But so you lose a main actor as things are moving along, because they finish shooting one, they would finish shooting, finish editing, finish producing, release it, they'd go right into the next one. So they had stuff writing, and she, when she passed away, they were already with things in motion. So I think that is what hurt this movie the most. That being said, I think they worked with what they had. You had some really nice moments. The redemption in the fall and the redemption stories in it at the end, I thought were nicely done. Seeing Kylo Ren taking on the Knights of Ren, again, characters I wish we got a little more out of, a little more explanation, but that gives us, with the books and the animated series, you could always go back and revisit those characters. I think there's a lot more story to tell of who they are and what their purpose is.
There's also people out there that don't know, read that stuff or know about that stuff. So it would have been nice to do like something on those guys.
Well, yes.
You know what I mean?
You got a little bit of them in Last Jedi when he is talking about the destruction of the temple, and Luke is talking about the visions that he was having about who Ben Kenobi was going to become.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Kenobi.
I got you.
Ben Solo. So you see the Knights of Ren there as they're destroying the training facility, but like some of the secondary characters throughout the Star Wars saga, you only get a smidgen of their story, and that's about it.
Yeah.
How characters become stormtroopers or TIE fighter pilots or the Imperial Guard or the Emperor's Hands. Like, the Emperor Hands characters are relatively important characters, and we see them for all of 30 seconds, not even whenever the Emperor shoos them away whenever Luke comes onto into his chamber. So these are characters that maybe at some point we'll get some more information one way or another about them. But seeing him battling them, seeing Ben come to Rey, they take on the Empire, and Rey on Tatooine burying Luke and Leia's lightsabers, and then igniting her own, because she has now discovered who she is, and coming to realize that she is the controller of her own destiny. Who her parents were, who her family doesn't define who she is as a person. She's in control of her own destiny, and she's in control of her own choices, and not anyone else.
Were you okay with her calling herself a Skywalker?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't say, like, just so you know, I took my earbuds out. Is my volume too low, or are we okay still?
We're
No,
good.
you sound good. Actually, you sound a little better.
So I was okay with that. I know, Dave, you've told me in the past that you didn't like that.
No,
I was okay with that because, for me, she doesn't want to be a Palpatine, right? And she trained under both
Come up with a different name.
Skywalker.
Come up with a different name. You're not a Skywalker. Sorry.
Yeah. But she trained under both Skywalkers. So,
True.
you know.
Yeah, and again, like I said, that is her establishing her own identity and not allowing anyone else to say otherwise. Um, and would you want to go around with a tainted last name? If you had the last name Hitler, would you want to go around?
Yeah,
Hi,
no.
yes, I am
No, I
Dave
get
Hitler.
I get it.
Or would you want to? No, I am Dave Churchill.
I get it. I don't
So-
like it, but I get it.
It you don't have to like it. It's it is what it is. It's just that's my explanation and logic behind it.
Okay.
And just a quick point to what I think that's the biggest miss in the franchise is the Knights of Ren. What an awesome looking group. And they did really nothing with them. That's a big miss in this franchise.
Well, even like the Imperial Guards, which were some of my favorite Empire characters from the first movies. You get the crimson robes, and they have the staffs, and they just look imposing, and they're supposed to be the elitist of the elite because they're guarding the Emperor. And again, you just see them, they're standing there, and then they walk off.
But the Knights of Ren, there's individuality. Each one of them is different, and they look awesome. And they did nothing with any of them.
I have pop figures of 2 or 3 of them.
Whose swing and a miss is that, though? Is that on Ryan Johnson, or is that on JJ for just rushing it?
I'll ask them when I have lunch with them next week. But
yeah, I'll give it shared responsibility. But
I'm just saying, like, you have those cool characters that you can delve deep in, and so instead of patchworking whatever he did, you could have delved a little bit deeper into those guys.
But and this is something that I've been saying more recently. Now that we're starting to get the limited run or the streaming run services of Mandalorian and the stuff from Marvel with like Moon Knight and Hawkeye. On the movies, they are limited to a 3-ish hour time slot to tell a complete story.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a beginning, middle, end, complete arc. You could have some stuff transfer over knowing that you're doing 3 movies, but for the most part, you have to have a complete beginning, middle, and end, and do that in a 3-hour time span or slightly less. So you lose a lot of time to develop, do a lot of character development because you have to be rushed to tell all this stuff. Now with the stuff on the Disney Plus series, you get about 6 hours to do the same thing. You could take a lot more time to tell stories. You could tell additional stories. You could add in more characters and give them more development, and people get to understand them better. I mean, think of Black Chrysanthemum from Boba Fett. If he was in the movie, he'd kind of been in and out.
In and out, right.
Right. In Book of Boba Fett, you got to see that character, you get to see a relatively complete arc with him where he was the bad guy. The bad guys betrayed him, and Boba Fett extended his hand and took him in, and he became this really cool character at the end.
By far one of the coolest characters in that show. Yes.
Yeah, but that's my point. We got the time to be able to nurture and develop and get to know that character because we had 6 hours of that show, give or take.
Right.
And for the record, I'm Team Chewie.
I can't do it. I can't do it. Sorry. Dave, number 5.
All right. I'll go. I'm flipping back and forth between 2. I'll go Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
To me, I kind of, when I just rewatched it, I kind of saw where Pete was talking that it's, there's a lot of stuff that went on in there, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. The last, 45 minutes of that movie where it's just like action, nonstop action, lightsaber battles up the yin-yang, and I don't remember all that because I just haven't, I put it out of my memory.
You were too busy yelling next to me, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. Because to be honest with you guys, I wasn't a big fan of the prequel trilogies. So there was no need I didn't feel the need to rewatch these things. But thankfully, because of the Clone Wars and all this other stuff that we got that came out, it made rewatching those, the movies were better for whatever reason. I don't know if it was because of the story development that we got from the Clone Wars and all that other stuff that was released. Force Awakens, no, Revenge of the Sith. Yes, that was again, I'll go with some of the acting, like from Palpatine, that I'm like, come on, dude.
He comes old and shriveled because of the Samuel L. Jackson reflecting the shocking lightning power back at him.
Right. And then you got when he does that little pirouette. Again, I compare him to like Yoda doing his flipping things. You got an old Palpatine sitting there he jumps, does a pirouette with his sword, and goes after. I guess that was the Mace Windu fight. Like, come on.
It was much more effective and I think more believable from Yoda.
Right, exactly. Than him pulling it out. And I just like this is a stupid thing, but it's kind of cool. Like, he has his lightsaber like in his sleeve, and he pulls it out real quick and bang, he lights it up. Like, that's where I would put mine if I had one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's actually a good spot for it.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that Mace Windu is not dead. That dude just flew out the window. And I'm hoping he makes an appearance in one of these streaming shows.
Yeah,
if you listen very closely, you get the trademark line.
Popular now.
What's that?
He's not dead. He's way too popular now.
Yeah.
He was way too popular back then too.
Yeah, but now, like, if it's going to be a cash grab, that's going to be a cash grab at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And he's on record saying he wants to be back in. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see him again.
We get some more purple lightsaber going. I'm down with that.
Hey, if they can bring the Emperor back for the for the Rise of Skywalker, they can bring Mace Windu back for like the Mandalorian or whatever.
Well, in the Emperor thing, and I want to point this out, that you're getting the explanation. Strangely enough, I don't know if they're walking it back or whatever, however you want to see this, but they actually were giving the whole explanation of how that part was going was explained in Bad Batch.
You'd have to refresh my memory. It's been a while since I've seen the Bad Batch.
At the end of Bad Batch, the Empire took all the cloning technology off of Camino and shipped it somewhere.
Okay.
And they never said, but they took anyone that had anything to do with the cloning technology, less one or two of them, imprisoned them, took the technology and started experimenting with themselves. So that's your setup right there, that the Emperor was doing it once they took over Camino. That they already had this plan in motion.
So he was cloning. They were trying to clone the Emperor back then, testing it out or whatever.
Right, which is why Snoke is so deformed.
Ah, so that's like a beginning stages of the Emperor Snoke.
Yeah.
So the Emperor was controlling Snoke. Hello, and Snoke was controlling the Force connection between Rey and Kylo Ren. He's powerful.
Some insight there, Matt. That's some insight.
I don't write these things. I just try to pay attention if I can.
And yet
I don't pick up everything.
And yet the Emperor was giving off that much Force power, and he lived.
Yes. Until he didn't. All right, Peter, number 5.
I'm going to go with the original Star Wars.
Wow.
A New Hope.
Ooh.
Number 5. And
tell us, Peter, why do you hate A New Hope?
It is the beginning of everything. So it has tons of props for that. It establishes everything that we know. Overall, I love the movie. Obviously, I fell in love with it, as a kid, and I love it to this day. And again, Dave, you know this too. Desert scenes, I love them all. Like in all these movies and all these franchises, the desert scenes are my favorites. So there's a lot of desert in this one. And then the introduction of like the Jawas. I always thought the Jawas were awesome, right?
Ding.
Like you
Ding,
got the
ding,
Jawas,
ding,
right?
ding.
You get all the
It's all the same family now. It's all connected.
Yep.
Right.
We're bringing baseball.
You get into the bar scene, all the crazy aliens out there. Like that was great. That was good stuff. I very much enjoyed the movie. The only reason it sits at number 5 is because obviously the ones I'm going to say before I enjoyed more. So again, significance, as I mentioned earlier, this is hugely significant. But in terms of entertainment for my favorite movies, it's at number 5.
Okay.
And that one of the all-time questions starts right there. Who shot first, right? That's like an all-time question that people that don't even know what Star Wars is hears about. So, those are cool things. But for the most part, it's a really good movie, but there's better.
That question only came out because George could not leave the original trilogy alone. He had to keep tinkering.
Well, he can't leave anything alone. Even any of the movies he's gone back and tinkered with. He's never satisfied. He's a complete perfectionist. So he keeps going back and reworking and reworking and reworking. And that's who George is. So I get it. And something that I should have brought up earlier, and I mean, just throw this in now as we're at the kind of the midway point, is that I've seemed to notice that depending on kind of basically when you were born or when you were introduced to these movies, from the original series, and that's kind of, and if you look at the list so far, and we're not done yet, but we have the original movies up higher because those are our Star Wars. If you talk to kids that were growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s for the sequel, the prequel trilogies, those are their Star Wars. That's what they grew up with. Even though they saw the other ones, those are the first ones that they saw in theater, and those are the ones that they have more of a connection with. Then you take someone like my son, who he's growing up with the sequel trilogies. So he's all about those movies. He's seen all the other ones. He's seen all the other movies, but that's his Star Wars, is the sequel trilogies. So when you were born, does actually, strangely enough, have a direct effect of how someone would rank these movies.
I agree 100% too, because you can take the, today everybody's brought up on all the technology and the special effects and everything. So do they really? So if they see the sequel trilogy, do they really want to go back and watch a movie that was made in 77, 80, and 83, where it's going to look whatever, puppets and stuff? Do they really want to go back and watch that? So I can see that,
See, where for me, the original ones with the practical effects actually hold up very well visually because it's a practical effect.
Right.
You're not relying on a computer to render an image and create a believability of metal from a skin of a computer generated skin or a plane of grass. Where when I've gone back and watched Phantom Menace, that scene where you have the battle droids coming across the hills and it's an all CGI effect, that grass looks like the effect of the Windows 95 standard background. It is very flat. There's no individually blade or individual, there's no real flow to it. It is a very flat image.
Wasn't there a percentage of like what Lucas did, like CGI'd, like it was 80% CGI'd that movie or something?
I forget what the percentage of that, and they bumped it up each one.
Yeah.
Yes. But again, that's technology, where at that point he felt it was where it was at, but you go a few years up from there and the technology has advanced so rapidly at that point. So the stuff that we're getting now, at least at this point in time, looks so much better than what we had then, and which makes those movies, I feel, more dated.
Right.
As far as the technology goes, and as far as the special effects go.
I mean, I hate to if you go to Boba Fett, again, the Boba Fett series, compare the Rancor from that to the Rancor Return of the Jedi. You know?
True.
It's so much better now than it was back then, but I still love the Return of the Jedi.
Well, true, but that's what I'm saying. I think in a lot of ways, though, that the practical effects of the TIE fighters and the X-Wings and everything flying in space and moving along holds up better than this stuff blowing up because it was a physical practical effect. So you're not having a computer render something.
That 1983 Rancor scared the hell out of me. So because it wasn't fake, it was a real, right in front of you kind of thing. So
right,
I agree with that.
So moving that along, and we're speaking of the Rancor. My number 5 is Return of the Jedi.
What? Come on.
And not because I didn't enjoy it, I just like some of these other ones better.
Okay, you didn't like the. I get it.
Of the even just going with the original 3 of the original 3, that would be my number 3. And again, not because it's bad, it's just I like the other ones better. It's going to be a common theme for all of us to say this, basically at this point. To quote Peter in some of the stuff that he's saying, in some ways this movie felt like a cash grab in some of the ways that they set things up. I can't tell you why. I'm putting it there. They
were trying to sell Princess Leia Halloween costume.
By putting it in the Bosch guard thing.
It was the wrap up of the series. Again, talking about they're building a Death Star. Oh, look, all of a sudden we're building another Death Star and no one knows about it. Until, many Bonthans died giving us the battle plans of this Death Star that they're building underneath our nose.
Mm-hmm.
Invader ship, now he has the giant Star Destroyer ship. That he parades around. And the Empire is getting stronger and stronger, and then all of a sudden just kind of really dissipates. It's. I felt story-wise, there is as much story to Return of the Jedi as there is to the other ones.
Yeah, because, I agree with that only because you're coming off the Empire Strikes Back, which you're coming off that big reveal. It's hard to top that big reveal again. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like they went all out with action, Ewoks, and whatever, the invasion to try to finish it off because they don't have that big twist again.
Right. You don't really have any real big reveals to pull this movie along. You're off the reveal, and it's kind of like the end of the roller coaster.
Right.
It's still thrilling, it's still moving, but you're not going as fast, and you're not doing as big of stuff. You're just kind of quickly, trying to burn out the momentum. The scene in the Palpatine's chambers is spectacular. It is, Luke dragging Vader's body across on the Death Star to the shuttle. He removes the mask, and he finally looks upon his father's face. And Vader's last words: "Tell your sister that she was right. That she was right." The passing of Yoda. So you have a lot of, again, poignant moments and a lot of really cool moments. But it's like I said, the story, I think, out of the original 3 is kind of the the weakest. It's like, okay, let's quickly wrap this up. So yep, that's my my number 5. Number 4 for you, Dave.
I just want to say real quick, Hayden Christensen didn't age well in that suit.
He got very pasty.
Yeah.
Very, very pasty.
Oh, man. All right. So I'm next, right?
Yep, 4.
All right. So I'm going to go with believe it or not, a sequel trilogy one at this point, because I can't believe I ranked it that high, but The Force Awakens.
Okay.
I rewatched that one and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. So I remember liking it when it first came out.
Oh, I remember that too.
Yes, it was, again, it had a similar plot to A New Hope, whatever. But it gave you the feels. It gave you the, you see C-3PO, Leia, all these guys coming back, and you're like, okay. They introduced the new characters. You had a silent R2-D2 sitting there waiting for Luke, so it gave you like, oh my God, what's up with R2, So it hit on all that, and I was surprised, because I didn't know what we were getting, because I guess that was from what this came out in 15. So from 05 to 015, we had a 10-year gap, and I think that's when Disney bought over Lucas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we didn't know what we were going to get from this because of that transition of power. So I don't know if they played it safe, but doesn't JJ, he has that habit of like when he did Star Wars, didn't he kind of, not Star Wars, Star Trek, didn't he kind of do like a similar thing? So I don't know if that's what he does in his films, but for me, it brought life back to the series, only for it to fall apart with Rian Johnson in Last Jedi, but... Man.
Pete?
All right. Well, my number 4 is Empire Strikes Back.
What?
Whoa. Okay.
Listen, great movie. It's in the upper half. Great movie. For me, it was the scenes on Hoth. The big AT-AT battles with the little fighter jets. I thought that was awesome. Obviously, you have the amazing scene with Luke and Vader and chopping off Luke's hand, and the whole iconic, Luke, I am your father, all that good stuff.
No, it can't be. No.
Right. And then for the record, Luke just like, all right, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna jump off of this thing, like. So get sucked up into a trash compactor thing, or into a little chute, a trash chute. But great movie, love it. It's one of the better movies. But there are I loved some of these movies a little bit more. And again, we're not talking the impact. We're talking about enjoyment of the movie, and that's where I'm at. Mm-hmm. So Empire Strikes Back is number 4 for me, and I always thought Luke's fake hand was awesome as a kid,
and still is.
Well,
okay,
he's kind of no longer needs it.
Yes.
But hey, as
Deadpool has it.
As a ghost projection, does he have a regular hand or a metal hand?
I'd be annoyed. I would be annoyed if I figured out a way to be a ghost and still have a fake hand versus a regular hand like I used to have.
Well, considering Anakin doesn't have any of he has both his regular hands and no robotic suit, I'm gonna go with he has his regular hand.
All of his. Okay.
Yep.
All right, let me blow you guys out of the water. My number 4, The Clone Wars.
Which one?
Clone Wars.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We're doing the animated series here?
No, I'm talking about episode 2, The Attack of the Clones. Sorry, Attack of the Clones. There we go.
You really
Clone Wars,
love
Attack of the
that
Clones.
one, huh?
I actually enjoy out of the prequel trilogy. That is my favorite. I enjoy watching that one because I like that you actually see a culmination of the Jedi at work. It's one of the few times that you see the Jedi collectively go out and do something. You also have,
like I was saying earlier, Matt, the importance of Attack of the Clones is huge in the Skywalker Saga. But as a movie, I ranked it low. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It brings in from the prequels one of my favorite villains from the prequels that again I wish in the movies we got more exposure to. I know in the both animated series we get more of this character's story, which is I think why I enjoyed him so much because I watched the shorts that were on Cartoon Network that led up to the series, or led up to the Attack of the Clones. General Grievous, who's basically a guy who's altered his body so much time with droid parts that he's primarily droid, and he's his sole purpose is he's a Jedi hunter. He goes around hunting Jedi and collecting their lightsabers. So you don't get that from the movie, and they don't kind of do his character a disservice. But I really enjoyed that character, and getting to see him fight Kenobi, in battling it out. I thought that was cool. Getting to see where the clones came from. That you have in Boba Fett's introduction, you have a character that he's an unaltered clone of his father. His father, Jango Fett, is basically the start of the stormtroopers. The plan Camino is pretty cool, and you get Ewan McGregor. Hello there. So you get a lot of things. I enjoy watching it, particularly with like I said, the battle scene at the end, seeing all the lightsabers pop up in the stadium, and then they're just going out in an all-out battle, and then you start getting the World War II references with the ships flying and bombing and attacking the ships, the separatist movements that are trying to get away and attacking them. And then, of course, Yoda battling Dooku, and just that awesome lightsaber battle there. Not even a lightsaber battle, but just the battle of Force using persons. Yeah, I guess that's the most PC way of saying it. Because it's not even just lightsabers. It is the ability of using the Force, and just Dooku just trying to crush an older and a smaller character, and Yoda's judge me by your size, my size you do. Really, that's where you really get the payoff there, because he's this smaller. He always acts as this impish character, but he is strong beyond belief, and you understand why he is Master Yoda and why he's the head of the Jedi Council.
Especially when Dooku threw that lightning at him, and Yoda's like, "Yeah, what else you got?"
Yeah. All right, let me just hold that, put that in my pocket. Next.
And you also Mace Windu was ahead of Jango Fett on that one.
Yep.
Oh God.
Already cutting into that joke.
You were waiting when the scene when Boba Fett was picking up the helmet. You're probably waiting for the head to fall out of it.
Yeah, right.
Come out. All right, Dave. Number 3. We're top 3 now.
Listen, everyone's got their opinion. That's that. There's great storylines in that movie, but it didn't hit for me the way it hit for you.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong except for saying that The Empire Strikes Back is not your top movie. That there's nothing. Everything else is okay. No, it's all a personal take, and like I said, we could, as things develop and move along, we could revisit this in 5 years, and things got discovered and explained from these movies that all of a sudden it changed. It moves one movie up and another movie down, and it's all fluid, or just based on Watching Last Jedi for the 47th time and realize, oh, now it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it all depends on like if in the future if they develop these streaming shows or whatever that explains more of the stuff like the Clone Wars did for the prequels. There might be more appreciation on my part for the sequel trilogies if more stuff is developed to explain a lot of the stuff that went down.
Yes, like you have to thank Last Jedi for putting on in the movies the holocrons that you have in your house.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Why do you gotta do that? Now I'm gonna get rid of it.
I'll gladly take that off your hands.
Yeah.
Number 3, Dave.
Number 3. All right, I'll go. And I think this is a product of like when I was born and what movie I saw first, because I'll go with The New Hope. Because again, I was too young for The New Hope because I came into it with Jedi. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate the movie. The movie was awesome. But to me, it was Jedi that brought me in. So it's that thing where you go back, like it didn't have as much action and the lightsaber battles and stuff like that Jedi had. So for me, I know this is the movie that started it all. It was an excellent movie, but for me, it's at 3. I can't put it at number 1 or 2.
Well, that's good because I didn't either, right? I have it at number 5.
Further, yeah.
Yeah, you have at 5. So what would your
All
number
right.
3 be? Pete?
All right, for me, number 3, Return of the Jedi. Love that movie. The best movie of the original 3. Again, for me, desert scenes, Jabba the Hutt, his whole crew, that whole first hour of the movie, 45 minutes of the movie. I love. That's my favorite part of the 3 movie, the first 3 movies, which is episodes 4, 5, and 6, obviously. But that was the best. Jabba's palace, all the Rancor, and again, when the Rancor ate that Gamorrean guard, I was like, oh my god, like that was like a thing. That was scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then that to me is when Luke Skywalker became a hero, because when he showed up at Jabba's palace and now he was truly a badass Jedi, that to me is when that happened. The Luke Skywalker that we love, that's when that happened for me.
When he killed the Rancor?
No, when he showed up at the palace.
Oh yeah,
he was like just like awing Jedi.
Right.
That's when he was. That to me, that's when he was the man. So, and then when he got himself through the Rancor, and then they hatched the whole plan to get everyone out. It was great. I loved it. I love that movie. Top 3 for me in the franchise. That to me was. And again, that's the first movie that I was old enough to enjoy, to understand of the series, and it never lost flavor for me. It's always been the best of the first 3 movies.
Okay.
Don't forget the Sarlacc pit, man. That was scary too. Like there was stuff in there that I was like freaked, because I'm 7, 8 years old. Like there's scary stuff going on there. The Sarlacc pit, the Rancor, that was like awesome.
It's why I don't go to beaches. Afraid a Sarlacc will just suck me up and burp.
Yeah. And then you get what is it, digested for 10,000 years or something like that?
Stuff like that, yep.
Mm-hmm. Unless you're Boba Fett.
Or a stormtrooper that's hanging out there next to us. Sorry, Toast. All right, number 3, I'm going to give some love to The Force Awakens.
Okay.
And we said it brought back the characters that we love. We're back in the universe. The universe seems bigger because of the technology that is now available, or at the time that movie came out, that's available. that you could expand upon things a lot more. Yes, a lot of people point out the similarities between it's the New Hope and even the way it opens up with the ship and then this. So what? So you times repeat themselves, and in that kind of is self-explanatory, especially in storytelling, that sometimes times change, people don't. It's a literary device that you take a story from 200 years ago and you compare it to a certain story that a story that comes out now, where the times have changed, but the way that certain people act, the way that certain things happen, the way that certain events play out still is going on. So that didn't bother me so much. I liked how it, just from the point that it opened up. So Poe is outside this village and you see the First Order show up. And for the first time, stormtroopers actually have this imposing, effect on them where they are, you see why people fear them, because they just come out in numbers and they're just brutal. Where before they were, clunking their heads into doorways and just kind of running around and not so in. I mean, you get the numbers and stuff. You couldn't get the grand scale of the numbers that you were able to now produce. But you see that they come out and they're just laying waste to stuff. It's like they don't care that I'm gonna burn down this house. Why? Because I can. I'm gonna take people hostages and just lay waste to stuff because we can, and we're stormtroopers and First Order troopers in this aspect, and this is what we do. So, you get that more. They're more imposing. They're more. There's more of a reason to fear them. And Kylo Ren walking off his shuttle, and just the way that he spoke and the way that he acted was just, it's just like, okay, that's a bad guy. That is one bad guy. And despite what happens later on, I forgot to bring up the gripe of The Last Jedi, wherever he takes his helmet off and my family were all collectively screaming, "Put the helmet back on! Put the helmet back on!"
Well, I'm there with you on that.
He did take it off in Force Awakens, I think, because I remember saying this guy is cool until he took his helmet off. I'm like, no.
Yep.
Yeah, he did take it off a little bit. Put the helmet back on! No, put it on! I just love Adam Driver and just think he's the sexiest. Hey, good for you. Good for you. Me, he doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
Follow the ways of the Mandalorian. Keep it on, man.
Yep. You must never remove our helmet in public.
Well, speaking of the stormtroopers, like menacing. First of all, like they're better off lighting things on fire because they can't shoot anything, right?
Yeah.
But stormtroopers, there's all and the different kinds are cool. Like that's another thing that I thought was a miss is like certain like stormtroopers, kind of boring. But remember like the Death Troopers in the we're not there for today, but like there's certain stormtrooper classes or whatever that are really cool, like the biker scouts. Like I wish they would have expanded on those things too. Like I could have done, Return of the Jedi had some biker scout speed racing stuff, which is cool. They could have done a lot more of that. I thought the biker scout back in the day is the coolest stormtrooper until again, like in Rogue One, like the Death Troopers, those are cool. But I mean, like I think there's misses along with the Knights of Ren and like there's misses and the biker scout was a miss. That would have been cool to expand on those cool looking dudes on speed on the bikers, running around.
Yes, yeah, and I thought the same thing like with the snow troopers. I love the look of the snow trooper.
Yeah.
And you got them for the first 20 minutes of whatever it is of Empire, and they kind of show up again in the sequel trilogies. At some point, I know there's a redesign of them, so they do show back up. My mind is blanking on when, but yeah, so we kind of see them again. But you don't get enough of them.
Yeah.
Or like
on
even
the cool stuff, like the cool. There's
troopers.
Certain cool things that I would have loved to have seen more.
Yeah, the Sith troopers, which they were saying were going to be the big thing from Rise of Skywalker. and they only show up in the third act at the end during the big battle. Because okay, what's the big deal? The Sith troopers other than they're red.
Mm.
So yeah, no. But yeah, so Force Awakens for me. Again, like I said, it's my oldest son's first movie he went to. So doing it right, introducing him to Star Wars before he even could concept it. And yeah, I liked seeing the characters. Introducing of Rey, seeing the Millennium Falcon again, Han Solo and Chewie, and going, Chewie, we're home, and it hit so many notes for me.
Yeah.
And I like the way that they were going with things in that movie.
Right.
The Star Killer base. Okay, it's like, and this is kind of where I have fault with the prequel trilogies, is that the First Order is the Empire just making things bigger.
Mm.
We got the AT-ATs, but then we got the whatever those things were called that are just bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Death Star, we have a planet, so we just it's the same thing but bigger.
Mm.
So that's my one little gripe with them. They improved the TIE fighters, which they didn't really use effectively ever in the movies, but they improved them because they're now two people on it. One person's running the guns backwards, so whenever you're being chased, you still could shoot stuff, and then you have the pilot instead of the pilot having tried to do both, and there's no defense in the back. So there was actually a smart move in there. But yeah, no, I enjoyed that movie. I that's one that I could very easily go back and watch again and again, because it sits well. Like I said, hit so many notes. I like everything. I like where the villain was going in that. I like where the introduction of the heroes. You got the original characters. Han Solo finally gets killed off. Harrison Ford was very happy at that point. You see his smile going down with this bag of money whenever he falls. Listen to the end of the planet.
Like, finally!
I only asked for this 20 years ago. He was never supposed to be in Jedi. And they backed up a big truck and said, please come back.
Yeah.
So, number 2, Dave.
All right. For me, it's Return of the Jedi. It just, for me, there's a lot. The only negative would be probably, I could see where people would lose it, would be the Ewoks. Because, I don't know, they would say, oh, you got the big Wookiees and then you got the mini Wookiees.
They're just smaller Wookiees.
Yeah, exactly. But from the opening, going to rescue Han from the Carbonite, the whole Luke, Vader, the Emperor just sitting on his throne, like, come get some. You got to get through Vader first before you come get me. It's just, I could recite that whole section probably, off the top of my head, but I'm not.
Oh, I'm afraid your friends are walking into a trap.
Yeah.
The whole thing was, again, it's the Empire. The Emperor has everything planned out.
Yes. So for me, that was a great finish for that original trilogy. Again, I could be a homer because it's just, that was the first one I saw. But it blew me away. The Rancor, everything. It's just, I can't really say anything other than the Ewoks as a negative about that movie for me.
And I've never had problems with the Ewoks.
Mm-hmm. I didn't either, but I could see where people can nitpick.
I get where some people, because it's kind of the Jar Jar Binks of those movies.
Right.
But
they're out there cutting the strings on the logs.
The logs.
Watching
them trying to trip the ATST and getting dragged along.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it until you just said it, right? You have your Wookiees, then you have your Ewoks, and now you have your Porgs.
Yep.
They went backwards. They went all down.
Right.
And for the record, was Chewbacca trying to eat a Porg?
Yes.
Was that a Porg?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
A Porg on a stick.
He was all sad, so then he didn't do it, right?
I like that. Another scene from Last Jedi that I liked was the whole I did like the porn part. And
I was torn. I was torn. I was wondering if they was begging for what he was eating, or were they trying to say, "Hey, you're eating one of us. Stop it."
Yeah, no, that's how I took it. You're eating one of
You're eating
us.
Jorge.
Yeah.
Don't eat
That's how I took
Jorge.
uh,
All right.
all right, Peter, you're up, bud.
All right. For me, number 2, The Force Awakens. Because, again, anticipation, right? 2015. From 2005 to 2000, anticipation. When I saw that first trailer, was it the Super Bowl or so? I don't remember. Oh, I was so excited.
Probably, yeah.
So, and it starts with, you didn't know who she was, but it starts with Ren opening up a panel and all her gear, like she's inside one of the galactic cruisers or whatever on Jakku. You know, that's it started out. Yeah. And great advertising. I loved their movie previews heading up to the movie, and the movie didn't disappoint me from day one. I loved it when I watched it, and I love it to this day. Just some of the scenes for me in early on in the process, when I don't think he's General Hux yet, right? But he's Hux. When he's given that speech to the First Order, I think that is awesome. Yeah. That speech to the First Order when they blow up the New Republic, all those 5 planets, that 5 minutes of when he starts the speech to when they blow up the planets, that's fantastic cinema to me. So to me, like that scene catapults that movie to me a lot, because I just thought that was super powerful stuff. But then there's more, like that, not only that, but like Jakku itself. Again, desert, so I love it, but it's filled with battles with giant star cruisers and
of battles past.
Again, cinematically, I loved it. So, and then with Rey going in there scavenging through all these things, that was just really awesome. I loved a lot of aspects of that movie, but then it got even better because you get Kylo Ren masked, who was, I thought, for the first 45 minutes of that movie was outstanding. I loved his temper when the guy reported that he was in the control room, and the guy reported to him, and he takes his lightsaber and slashes the whole thing. This is before he's unmasked. Like,
that's a temper.
And then when he has Vader's melted helmet there, and he's like, I will finish what you started. Like, these are all amazing, iconic scenes to me. I don't think The Force Awakens gets enough credit for all the different, to me, iconic stuff that was in it. And then when the X-Wing fighters appeared, you didn't get goosebumps on that? Come on. When the X-Wing fighters appeared, when they started attacking the First Order there, I got goosebumps. Like, and that was amazing. Like, there was just so many great things. I think for the most part, if I had to pick one thing, my favorite thing would be Hux's speech. But don't forget, Han Solo is killed in this movie. So again, iconic scene. He's talking to his kid, and his kid kills him. Like, that's tremendous. So you put those 5 things I just said or whatever in one movie, that's a great movie. So, that's it. It lands as number 2 on my list.
Something else I want to bring up when we're talking about Kylo Ren, as much as I love with him with the mask and everything like that, I love what they did with the mask in Rise of Skywalker, where they put the red accents in it. Made it even more
when he super glued it back.
Yeah, super glued it. The red accents was that was cool.
I guess the First Order uses like a red super glue.
Yeah, pretty much. It dries. The Gorilla Glue dries funnier in outer space. It doesn't. But yeah, no. With the talking to Vader's melted mask and feeling that this is his destiny and legacy. And again, making your own choices, defining your path, or feeling that someone else has defined your path. And that's where he, as a part of the Skywalker lineage, felt this was the direction that the Skywalkers had to go in. And that's where, at the end, whenever Rey gets to make her own choice and decide who she is, that, she feels the Palpatines there needs to be an end to Palpatines, and we have to put the Skywalker name back in its proper direction. Because Ben Solo decided that the Skywalkers need to keep going down the dark side. So again, that it all plays off each other. But yeah, it hit so many notes. The scene that you're talking about, Hux talking over it, bringing back notes of the World War II era notations that ran in the first movies. Absolutely brilliant. Yep.
Yeah. And they destroyed 5 planets in one shot or whatever, 4 or 5 planets, whatever it was. They destroyed the New Republic in one shot with that Starkiller base.
Yeah.
So you can argue, like Luke destroyed the first Death Star, Solo destroyed the second Death Star, and Poe, I think, destroyed the Starkiller base. You can argue Poe's is the most important, man, because that thing was no joke.
Mm-hmm. It was Lando that destroyed the
Lando you're right. Was it Lando that destroyed the Millennium Falcon, right? Destroyed the second one.
Yep.
And then I think Poe, you can argue, had the most important kill, because that was no joke, that Starkiller planet.
No, not at all. That was one serious. And the battle scene there also as well, of Rey discovering her Force abilities against Kylo Ren. And I like the way that they portrayed the character of Kylo Ren, because even down to his lightsaber, everything is unstable. His saber is unstable because of the cracked kyber crystal in it. He is, this raw energy of you don't know what, because there's so much turmoil going on in that character. It's not just, he's not purely bad. There is a lot of conflict, and you get that from points of him trying to say, I know what I have to do. I don't know if I could bring myself to do it. And when he kills his father, he says thank you, but you could see again at his in his face that he's not happy he did it, but he just feels compelled. This is the way that I have to. This is the direction I have to go, because this is what is being dictated to me.
Yeah, and at that moment, you could tell in Han Solo's face, he didn't like it either.
No, but he was the red lighting. But Solo's looking at his son, and the last thing he does is touch his son's face. In almost a sign of forgiveness. That I know this isn't you. It just, it's those moments, and like you said, it hits so many of the right notes. I don't think it does get the respect a lot of what it should, and hopefully in time people do come to realize that, as like people come to appreciate the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogies. I think the sequel trilogies will get its day too. Most of them.
But I think a lot of that has to do with 8 and 9, though, bringing it down. You know what I mean? Like me, I forgot how good Force Awakens was until I watched it, and I was like, wow, this one was actually the gem of the 3. And it just, and the direction that they decided to go to was like, what happened? You had it. You had to suck back in. What did you do?
And like I said, I think a lot of that is because you did not have the same writing crew through all 3 movies. So you have this person's take on it, and then you have that person's take on it, and then you have this person's take back on it. So it's kind of like you can go back to like the Batman comics. Oh, which Batman? I love Batman. Which one? Because you got the Adams Batman, and then you have the Frank Miller Batman. You have the many different variations of Batman that's taken the character in different directions. So you have the detective one, but then you have the dark and brooding one, and then you have the one that uses a lot more technology. So it's because someone else is telling that story. If you had the same person write throughout the different years, then you would kind of have a lot more consistency. You don't get as much variety, but sometimes in something like this where you're trying to tell, you have the three stories and you need the arc between them. You need someone to be able to help carry that arc. If you take out the key element of having at least one or two of the same writers to carry that entire arc, it does affect it. Which I guess will bring up my number 2. And I'm going to go New Hope. It's the original. It is the one that I've definitely seen the most, because you could ask my mother. I would constantly watch on VHS to the point that I think she banned me from, or hoping that the thing would break. And she didn't understand this thing, Star Wars. Why would someone, go after it? And these two guys are both in love with this one woman. And I remember her saying that. She may deny it now, but I remember her saying, about Luke and Han both liking Princess Leia, and that, what kind of soap opera stuff is this? I just, like I said, it's the first movie I ever saw, and it's the movie that I as a child would constantly, I'd watch that. I would watch Ghostbusters. I'd kind of go between the two of them. So yeah, I have to, and also because it is the original, so I just have to give it the command respect of putting it high up there. Could they've done a little more with it and stuff? Yeah, but it's got nice little elements, and being that it's the first one, it's the first time, as much trouble George had getting this movie going, he stuck to his guns and produced pretty much the movie that he wanted to, with what he could and how he could and everything. And as like Filoni has gone on and creating stuff, he's pulled so many things out of that movie to expand upon it, of different creatures and different places and whatnot, to expand everything off that one movie. So everything that we got now is because of that movie. And I love watching Han Solo running across the Death Star screaming and getting, trying to scare off the stormtroopers.
Who shot first?
No, who's on first?
No.
All right, now it's drum roll time.
Drum roll time. Well, process of this one a bit again. Over the course of time, this one aged better with me.
Last Jedi.
No, not even close. Empire Strikes Back. This would never have been my number 1 back in the day, but as I got older and watching these things over and over again, this one it stepped up. It had the better storyline going in there. It was more darker for me. Han Solo getting taken, put in the carbonite, boom. The Luke at the end getting his hand cut off, boom. I'm your father. Oh crap. It just it to me all around, this had everything. So it deserves to be the number 1 in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's again, Star Wars set it up, A New Hope set it up, and Empire Strikes Back delivered.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Pete.
All right, well, by process of elimination, and I'm going to say my number 1 is Revenge of the Sith. And it's because of Clone Wars that it became my number 1. Because Revenge of the Sith is a fantastic movie. And if you've seen the Clone Wars series, it's perfect, because it takes place between, episode 2 and episode 3. And there is nothing more iconic in all of the Star Wars franchise than Order 66. That is the biggest event aside from lightsabers. Order 66 is the biggest event in the Skywalker Saga because it just turned everything around. Everything in the franchise was turned around when the Emperor said execute Order 66. And I love that they did it in the movies and then they did it in the Clone Wars to show you other aspects of that day. And then they've done it in the Bad Batch. They've done it in the canon video games. Like they give you a little bit more of each of what happened in different parts of the universe on that exact moment. And that's awesome. So to me, Order 66 is the it's not great. It's an awful thing that happened to the Jedis, but it's a great thing that happened in this franchise. And I loved it. I loved the scheming of the Emperor to come up with such an amazing failsafe for that army. And it worked. It worked 98%, but luckily some of the Jedi survived and they came back to do what they had to do.
And they didn't even delve into that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember them saying anything about Order 66 until he ordered 66.
Yeah,
right?
it was a shocking surprise for everybody. Like it, and then from when he said that, from and I think you said it earlier, Dave. The last 45 minutes of that movie, from when Order 66 is given till the end of the movie, Order 66 is given. All of a sudden, these Jedi Masters on that council are being killed off. All of a sudden, which again, Clone Wars dives into that deeper, which makes it even more heart-wrenching because each of those Jedis that's killed off has storylines in Clone Wars.
Right.
So they build the storylines. So that happens. Then you get Obi-Wan fighting Anakin. That's iconic, obviously. And again, as we said earlier, I have the high ground. Don't do it. Okay, zoop, there goes your legs, your arms, everything. So that's iconic. And then building Vader at the end. That's absolutely iconic.
Definitely, yes.
I could have sweat out the no.
Right. Well, James Earl Jones got a little zealous there, right? So to me, it was. I always loved that movie. But after Clone Wars came out, that movie got elevated tremendously to me. And that's why I will say that is the number one Skywalker Saga movie.
Well, even like in the last season of Clone Wars that just came out a couple years ago, where you have, was it the last 3 episodes? You track it right to that movie.
Yeah, the last 4 episodes, I think.
Or maybe it's the last 4.
Yeah, they did it like 4.
It's the battle. I think it's called the Battle of Mandalore, right? Or is that the one at the end there?
Siege of Mandalore, yeah.
Or the Siege of Mandalore, or whatever it is. I forgot whatever it is. But and again, not to get off track because Ahsoka takes center stage there with Rex and those guys. But they again, because of the Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith is even more awesome than when it was just in the movies.
I don't remember this, but back then when that came out and the Order 60, and Emperor did was there blowback from people saying, what the heck was that all about? Like,
I don't think so. I think people loved it. I think
just accepted it. Yeah.
I don't recall people hating it.
Right. Well, I mean, because now with the Clone Wars, we know why they reacted to Order 66 that way, where the movies didn't delve into why they would react like that. You know what I mean?
When you were watching that movie and the Emperor said execute Order 66, for the first couple minutes you're confused. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then as they're explaining it, you're like looking at this. And again, they were killing everyone. But then suddenly Yoda was like, wait a moment, what's happening? He felt it, and then he killed the two clone troopers that were supposedly protecting him.
Yeah.
And then he was able to survive it along with hopefully some others, and there you go.
And I think that's what makes it even a little more powerful is that up until that very second, those troopers, they were almost buddies with the Jedi. They were friends. They were, they were first name basis. They were defying this war. They were companions. They were, brothers at arms against the separatist movement, against the droid army and everything. And in the second, they were no longer, on the same side. They were part of the enemy. It would,
You felt the betrayal in the movie theater. You felt that betrayal.
Commander Cody and all them, and then all of a sudden, no, Cody's one of the good guys, and he just killed Master whoever. I forget which ones. But
there was a bunch of no-name Jedis that got wiped out that we didn't know about.
Yeah, but again, those counts,
not the girl Jedi. She's cute.
Movies all had stories in Clone Wars.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I think the animated series, and again expanding on even the newer stuff, that the animated series that Filoni has brought on us and Lucasfilm is created for us fleshes these things out that make these movies even better, because you've now taken the time to be able to spell out these additional stories that you could not do in the movies. And we're getting a lot of the live action stuff that's now leading into Force Awakens, and one day we'll get some stuff that happens during this sequel trilogy. I'm sure they will come up with some stuff. And that will flesh that stuff out even more. Even though, like I said, it is on the bottom of my list, doesn't make it a bad movie. It's just, for me, just doesn't do it quite as much. But I'm glad you enjoyed it so much. But for my number one, will have to side with Dave and go Empire Strikes Back. And again, probably if you asked me when I was much younger, when it was just the three, it may not have been. I probably would put New Hope up there, but being older and understanding storytelling and how watching movies, when that came out, it's one of the few times that you finish a movie and you're sitting in the theater and going, "Wait, the good guys just lost."
Yeah.
And not only they didn't just lose, they lost big.
Yeah.
And
you kind of want it more, like when
it can't be over now, because the good guys lost. This doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It sets things up beautifully. New Hope was written as a one and done with the possibility of a sequel. This one was written with the knowing that there will be more after it. So that's why there is quite the difference between New Hope and Empire. George knew that, okay, we had Empire, and then we're going to go to Jedi after this. It was almost a guarantee. And from the snow planet, from the Battle of Hoth, and again the snow troopers, and just what happens there, to the battle on the asteroid, meeting Yoda, and seeing Luke's training, seeing when Luke goes into that cave and faces Vader in that cave. That, to me, that was terrifying and inspiring at the same time. And then seeing the helmet and the funky looking Luke head rolling on the ground.
You had that creepy "don't go in there" moment.
Yeah. You only go in there with whatever's in there is what you bring with you.
Yeah.
Which, again, as a child, I didn't understand that line. Now, as an adult, that line has so much more meaning. Like many things that Yoda says, but that line, you only carry in there. We only bring in with you whatever you have. I can't speak now, but whatever you bring with you is what you have in there, basically. And he's not just talking physical, but he's talking emotional and what's in Luke's heart and what's Luke's mind. And that's what he faces. And, again, that just speaks volumes. And again, in the story of hope, Luke never losing hope that he can save and help his friends. Carries so much through that movie. You're beating up on the rebellion, but they still have the hope that they will be able to pull this off and move forward. The story of family and Luke discovering who his father was and not believing it, but searching inside and realizing that it's an unfortunate truth, but again, not being defined by who my family is. I make my own decisions. Great moments. Introducing Lando Calrissian, who is just a smooth, awesome character.
OG, baby.
Yeah, Billy D. Williams just pulling off such a great job with that.
Yeah.
More Han Solo. On the in that asteroid wherever they land, and then the bats start all of a sudden coming out of nowhere. That was creepy.
That's where you get introduced to Boba Fett and all that.
Boba Fett, and the trick. Han Solo thinks, okay, we're gonna sneak away, on the back of the Star Destroyer. They'll never find us. We'll float away with the garbage, and there's Boba Fett's ship.
Yeah, you can't. No, don't say it.
I can't call that. Floating after. He knew how to find them. He
on the fire.
All the tea leaves or something. Introduces one of my favorite bounty hunter droids, IG-88, which you don't get much out of him. I learned more about him in Shadows of the Empire in that book. And then we get the IG-11 in Mandalorian. But yeah, because you do see IG-8 later in that movie, where they're doing the scrap and on the planet, and Chewie's trying to find
C-3PO's parts and stuff.
Yeah, with the Ugnaughts.
Yeah.
With the funky Ugnaughts.
Yeah.
Thankfully they've evolved better. But IG-88's body is right next to the Inferno. So yeah, you get a lot of cool things. I eat up that movie, and when they re-released it in the special edition where they painted in the skies and stuff, it just became even more beautiful of a film.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my love story for Empire.
I agree.
Yeah. I was one thing I wanted to bring up. So I see, Dave, you got your iconic Darth Vader statue, right? Who is, of the 9 movies, it's a Skywalker saga. Is it the Luke Skywalker saga, the Anakin Skywalker saga? Who would you say is the main character of the 9 movies in total?
Originally, from what I had heard when Lucas started this journey, it was supposed to be, from what I understood back in the day, it was supposed to be a 9-part Anakin Skywalker series, the story of him.
Yes.
Obviously, it didn't go that route.
Right. But you can, the prequels, 100% Anakin Skywalker. The middle 3 is a wash, Luke and Darth Vader. Right. And then the sequels is Luke, really more.
The culmination of his journey. Right.
Yeah. So I think it's a fun question to ask. Like, which Skywalker is a saga? Or is it just, I guess, any Skywalker is part of the saga?
You go with any Skywalker. I could argue that it is all Anakin.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's just the only thing that fight is the sequels.
Yeah.
And
so
I could explain, and this is where I would go with how the sequels would tie in that it's still Anakin's. So you have Anakin's fall is the prequels. Anakin's redemption is the originals. And the sequels is Anakin's legacy. Because Kylo Ren's actions are based on the legacy of Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, see that? That's a good idea.
So, and Kylo's storyline mirrors in a number of aspects Darth Vader's rise and fall.
Yeah.
and then kind of rise again, in a slightly different beat and a slightly different pattern, but
Hence him saying, show me the way, blah 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 blah.
right. So everything he's doing, like I said, he's living up to what he believes his name leads him to.
Mm-hmm.
I need to follow in my grandfather's footsteps because he was the one to bring balance and redemption to the Force. Therefore, he did not succeed in that, and it's my burden and my journey to go along and do it.
What he should have
my
done
uncle is a whiny little boy.
What he should have done is kept his helmet on for those 3 movies.
Yep.
And then when he died with Rey, he could have taken it off there.
True.
That would have been a lot better.
No, it would have made it worse because then you got looked at and why'd you put the helmet back on?
Did any of you get that emotional attachment between, like, to me it didn't seem like there was a romance between Rey and Ben.
I didn't get it. It didn't do anything for me at all.
Yeah.
They try to write. They wrote that in there, and maybe for some people it worked. For me, it was not as necessary, I think, as they were trying to make it.
Well, they tried to do it with Finn and Rey. I didn't feel that either. They tried to do it with Finn
and Rose. I like that, and
Finn,
I was fine with that. I wanted a little more of that.
Like, I didn't feel any. There was no. The prequels, there was romance, right? The middle movies, there was romance. I didn't really catch it on the sequel.
On this one, yeah, there was. Not that we needed it for it to be successful.
No,
I just didn't get where they were going with it. Like who's with who.
Right, by Soap Opera Digest Weekly. Look at.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Any final notes?
One thing. Go ahead.
No, you're first.
I was going to say one thing to say, again, conflicted Darth Vader. Luke swiped at the Emperor. Vader stopped him with the saber. Mace Windu swiped at the Emperor. Vader stopped him with the saber. And then Vader ends up picking up the Emperor and killing him anyway.
I should have done this 10 years ago. No, you all gonna die.
Now, I know it's not a part of the 9, but I would give the honorable mention to Rogue One, man, because that was one fantastic movie that could easily squeeze into this list.
Rogue One will be
at the top of one of these. I would have it top 2, top 3 with Rogue One.
100% correct.
Yeah, but we're already at 2.5 hours, so.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I threw it an honorable mention. That's all.
Yeah, and honorable mention, Clone Wars. Fantastic series.
Yeah.
And Resistance. Fantastic series. Like, they're awesome. Like,
I've never seen Resistance.
Resistance?
No, I'm sorry, not Resistance.
Rebels.
About
no,
there's a Resistance. There is a Resistance series. Rebels.
Yeah,
Rebels is good. Yeah. And Bad Batch is turning into, so far.
Like, Rebels is fantastic.
And first season of Bad Batch has also been really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it just, again, expands on the universe, gives us so much more stories that doesn't have to revolve. Well, I mean, I guess you Clone Wars revolves around Anakin and Kenobi, but you get so many other characters, Captain Rex, Ahsoka, which is, I think, hands down probably one of the, if not top 5, or the best or top 5 characters out of all of Star Wars.
Yeah, Ahsoka is the main character of Clone Wars.
Yeah, because you follow her journey.
Yeah, there's
from
no
being a whiny little Padawan.
Those 7 seasons.
Yeah, from a whiny little Padawan to being this almost jaded character, and then follow through into Rebels, and finding her way, and again making her choices and figuring out where she belongs in the universe, in her mission, just such good stuff.
Mm-hmm. I got one last thing. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda says that basically Qui-Gon learned to become a Force ghost. Do we see him in the Kenobi series?
I would love for that to happen. I don't, they haven't said anything, but they love not giving us.
Did we know Luke was in The Mandalorian? I didn't.
No. Well, that's what I'm saying. It is quite possible that this pops up. Despite all the rumors. Oh, Han Solo's going to show up at the end of Boba Fett. No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
But, these things that we don't know is what makes it even better. And that's why, I try to avoid, some people dig and try and find spoilers left and right. Let them entertain me. Let them tell me their story. I don't want to find out the story ahead of them necessarily telling me.
Yeah.
Give me enough to just get me interested and hyped in.
I would say equate it to Christmas, right? You sneak all your gifts. What are you doing Christmas morning?
Right. Exactly. No, I don't want to know ahead of time either. I'm just speculating, man. That when I heard him say that, I was like, ooh, that's right. I wonder if we're gonna see him in Kenobi. That would be cool.
Let's as we speak here on May 2nd, Kenobi has a chance to be an amazing series because there's so many great things there. It depends on what Disney does with it.
Yeah.
Give me quickly last before we go. Dave, then Peter, what are you looking forward to in Kenobi? Either speculation or that's going to be in it.
The Inquisitors. I want to see what they do with them. Because they were in the Clone Wars or something like that, right?
Yeah, they were in the Clone Wars series.
Yeah.
I want to see them, how they bring them to real life action show and the direction they go with them. I think that would be the make or break for me, the make or break probably of that show. Because I don't know who else they're going to bring in. I mean, Vader's in there, but I want to see the Inquisitors, what they do,
The Inquisitors were more rebels than Clone Wars. The Inquisitors were
right.
In Rebels a lot.
Vader creates the Inquisitors.
And that's again, that most likely will be a miss, I bet, because I don't know if they're going to delve into the Inquisitors. And again, kind of like the Knights of Ren, again, they're each individual, first sister, fourth brother, they're each individual, but I don't know if they're going to give them screen time for that. And then they all have that circular lightsaber that's pretty awesome. Hopefully they delve into that. You see that circular lightsaber.
Yeah.
And then that's one of the things. And then just again, if it is going to be, if Anakin is going to be in that series, that's going to be amazing. If there's just so much stuff to unpack there. Do you know how many episodes are going to be there?
6.
That's I don't see how they're going to unpack all that greatness in 6 episodes. But
it's
see.
hard to say. And we're getting the first 2 episodes on the Friday that it drops. So you get 2 at once, and then you only get 4 more right after that, which
they could pack heavy duty in each of those 6, man. They really could.
They have a lot to do, but I think that's going to make it such a roller coaster ride where people have been complaining that some of these limited series that sometimes there's too much of a lull in some of the storytelling and some of it just goes a little too slowly, that this will just really just go head first into everything. We shall see. We shall see.
It'd be cool if they do like a flashback scene where you just see Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, together, just like a Clone Wars reunited. You know what I mean?
I would think so. I'm thinking that's exactly what's going to happen.
I wouldn't put that past them. Again, there's so much that they can do, and there's so much that, as much as we know, there's that much more that we don't know.
Is Filoni involved in this or no?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I myself, again, I'm looking forward to seeing the Inquisitors because I think that's just a fantastic group there. We've seen the new one that they brought in, the one girl character, and we've seen the 5th brother.
Yes.
Those are the only 2 that we've seen. We know that the Grand Inquisitor is in it. We haven't seen him yet.
Right.
So there's so much more. With how much would they've shown us or teased us that or put out there that the fifth brother is in there, I think we will get a fair amount of him as a character. I don't think he's just going to be kind of a background thing. He looks like he is a kind of a key character because you see him questioning Lars. So there is going to be a little more to them. To what extent, how much, I don't know. But I think what we're being shown at this moment, there's a lot of potential good stuff coming.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
100%.
And this is something Ewan McGregor has been trying to champion since when Solo came out.
Yeah.
So this is something this is a passion project. And usually when you get like a passion project like this, usually means good things.
And originally it was supposed to be a movie, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And then when Solo underperformed, they shelved it. No good idea goes unused. Disney Plus comes along, and again, we go from having just to do it in 3 hours to now getting 6 hours.
Yeah.
To even perfect it even better.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on to your initial podcast. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. I appreciated having you guys on. Love this discussion. I'm glad we finally got this one in the books, under wrapped, in on digital.
There you go. Awesome. Thanks for having us, man. I loved it. Had a blast. Anytime, call me up. I'm here, man.
Yeah. Well, these countdowns. These would be fun to do.
Absolutely. All right, we'll do this again sometime.
Sounds good to me. All right, brother.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Peter and Dave, for joining me first time on a podcast. Again, big congratulations to them. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. I want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. Join our conversation on the Facebook.com/group/Disney Marvels Podcast, on Instagram at Disney Marvels Podcast, TikTok at Disney Marvels Podcast, and or on the Twitter at Disney Marvels. Let us know how do you rank the Star Wars films? You could, hey, it's this, you guys got completely wrong. Or I agree with you with these ones are different. Or are you saying they are also excellent? You can't rate any of them. They all exceed excellence and they all are on a higher plane. All those are acceptable answers. It's what you feel. Let us know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you could leave comments below if this is where you're listening to us. Check out the audio feeds that we have on there and some other stuff that we post, and that's on YouTube. You can leave us a voice message with your ranking or suggestions, anything you want to say, anything you want to add. Just let your voice be heard on the show. You can do this over at the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website, or record your own message on your electronic device, your computer, your laptop, your tablet, what have you, and email it to DisneyMarvels@gmail.com. You could also email any questions or suggestions you may have to that address as well. Don't forget to check out the latest Disney Marvels blog at disneymarvels.blogspot.com. Links to all these are in the show notes. I want to thank you for your time. Yes, you. Because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. And this time that you have, I know, is valuable, and the fact that we get to spend time together each week means a lot to us over here at Disney Marvels. It's truly a blessing that we get to spend this time together. And though we may not have met, we've never necessarily shaken hands or seen each other. but we are family, and there's a lot to say about that. If you could do us a favor, though, please, because families are always asking for favors, go on to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a ranking and a review for the show there, because that's how people will find out about the show. The podcast streaming places will help promote the shows. The more reviews that we get, the more we keep going. We have all 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. In 4 years, that is remarkable. 4 years going, and we have all 5-star reviews. I say it all the time. It blows my mind, and truly am thankful and humbled by these opinions that you share, and that you feel that way towards the show. Little did I know 4 years ago that that's what people would be saying. And if you can't do it on the podcast, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, share it out. Share out a link on the social medias. This way other people can click in, say, hey, check out the latest show. They just ranked all 9 of the Skywalker movies. They're crazy. Check it out. So please, do that. The more people that we have join our Disney family, the better. Walt believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show while you're at it. This way you always know when a new episode is posted. While you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Really help the show out. You can do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support, or find our Patreon page. You can also check out the latest Disney our merchandise shop, where you can get yourself some fun Disney Marvels podcast stuff. You can find these links in the show notes as well, because remember, the show is brought to you by listeners like you. Whatever you're facing out there, whatever darkness, whatever is troubling you, don't give up. Look deep inside yourself. Find the light that will guide you. That will guide you to the help that you need. There is someone out there who will help you when it asked for. Help will always be given to those who ask. Never give up, never give in. Be your own hero. Now I'd like to end this week's show with a quote from Walt Disney himself. Direct and easy communication, freedom of speech in all forms, and its broadest sense, has become vital to the very survival of a civilized humanity. Again, that's from Walt Disney. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.